The hold, the kick, the win for the Giants.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Henry cuts it back, dives and scores, and Tennessee has tied it up with the PAT coming. Incredible rally.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brandon Sprague.
Simons has 5 threes. Harden pokes it off the leg, he says, of Simons.
And Ty Lewis checking with the bench to see if he wants to challenge it. Watch the tip.
Now watch the ball with Simons.
Let's see.
After review, the ruling on the floor has been overturned. It is Clippers basketball. Successful challenge for LA.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Happy Tuesday, everybody. What is happening? Good morning, good morning, good morning. The old year is winding down quickly.
Almost there, Bob.
We'll be on vacation after next Wednesday's show for the rest of the year. So we'll take about 9 days, I think, of real-time vacation. We'll be back for 2024 on the 2nd of January. We're pretty excited about it. I know Dirt's going to be welcoming a kid about a month later, but I don't know. I'm pretty excited for 2024. I think there's things we can do with the show to grow. It's been a lot of fun this year, but I don't think I can go into next year having not paid off something with this Civil War Oregon State-Oregon game that we didn't really even decide on before the game.
No, we did not.
And then my coach left and then coached the game, but he wasn't really there.
Yeah.
And so I want to pay something off.
Okay, you got to do something in the next week.
I'm not a bet welcher. We obviously know Swag, legendary bet welcher on this show.
That's true.
I've got a buddy, Jesus, who's a Duck fan, still owes me a golf bet from the 2022 Civil War.
Come on, man.
Before even paying it off, then adds another wrinkle of want to make a bet this year. I tell him my coach is gone. They're going to get housed. He goes, oh. And I go, okay, you clearly want to make a bet because you got embarrassed last year.
You do a double or nothing. Now you already lost out on that bet. You didn't even get to win it.
He hasn't even paid it off, and I think the bet is basically I pay for a round of golf at any random time.
I feel like every time you golf with him.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
And you didn't golf a lot this summer, but I guarantee you golf with him at least once.
I did, yes. Yeah. Actually, he's the last person I golfed with. But the point is that he's already moved on to his winning of the bet of hey, want to do this tournament? I'm like, you haven't even paid off your bet.
Yeah, you got to pay yours off first, and then I'll pay my bet off.
This is easy. Wear Oregon State shirt for one round of golf. That's not very hard.
That's not hard at all. That's the easiest bet payoff in the world.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Are you kidding me? You just have to, do I have to buy, does he have to buy the Oregon State shirt, or are you going to give him one?
He's claiming I'm supposed to give him one. So you know what I did? I went to Bandon Dunes, and I busted it out for the last round of the trip and thought, you know what? If you're going to have to do it, you should have to do it in one of these rounds.
There, yeah.
It's nice weather.
He claims.
He flaked.
He claims the shirt's too small.
It's going to affect his swing. I'm not going to have full rotational tilt. The shirt's too tight.
He's not a tiny guy, but he could have squeezed into that thing and played a round of golf, and he backed out and cowered out, and he still hasn't paid it off. So I don't want to do this. Whatever you want me to do.
Okay.
My team got embarrassed. They got ransacked by their coach. After they lost, there's reports that he was seen on a camera doing the Goodwill drop-off at 2 a.m. in Corvallis.
A 2 a.m. Goodwill drop-off.
2 a.m. the day after the game. So think of it. That night they get home.
I didn't even know you could do that. Are they open at 2 a.m.? Do you just drop it off at the front door?
They have
There's a drop-off
collection
center.
Bins collection? Okay.
Yeah.
2 a.m.
By the way, I don't have any factual evidence. No. Just in my mind, it's funny that he's driving up at 2 a.m. to cower out of Corvallis.
Slowly sneaking up to the front door, hoping there's no cameras. The security footage on that would be worth millions. Who is that? It's Jonathan Smith, man.
I have a George Bush or Ross Perot chuckle in my head while he's doing
playing
tossing the bags.
The Pink Panther theme music's playing. Da-da. He's going on his toesies up to drop it off in the bin. See you later, Jonathan.
So what is the bet? I don't know what to do.
Well, here's
here.
what we should do is we've talked about this leading into the game, and then we didn't do anything. So this is mostly my fault. This isn't your fault.
No, it's kind of mine.
Well, look, the winner of the bet usually is the one that, you come up with the songs or here's what you have to do, and you present the payoff. So what I think we should do, because we had a couple of ideas of punishment that we would have to do. I only came up with one. You had 2 or 3 that were pretty solid.
Okay.
And I think we put them into a hat. We draw it out of the hat, and
Okay.
then we pay off the bet at some point this week or next week.
Let's set it up. We can't do it today, obviously, because I'm just surprising you with this topic.
Yes, it's okay. I already know what mine is, but I want a couple of options in there for you to pick from, because that keeps the integrity of the bet alive.
The only, it's not even a problem. At least it sounds like to you. The only problem is the ideas I had were funny both ways. So if I get my own idea, it's going to look like I did something that I want to do versus like, hey, you just drew a random punishment.
I don't think shotgunning a can of soup is something that you want to do. But if you were going to make me do that, then it has to be on the table that you might have to do that. Like, that has to be a potential option for you. Mine's not quite as painful, but what soup would you choose if you had to shotgun soup?
Yeah, that's a good. What soup's maybe the worst one to shotgun?
I would think like a chowder.
Can I not have to do a clam chowder?
Yeah.
I'll shotgun any. I hate tomato soup, but I'd rather shotgun tomato soup over clam chowder.
I think if you have to shotgun the soup, you could pick the soup. I'm
Yeah.
not going to pick the soup for
So if you want a chicken noodle,
Okay,
I feel like tomato would probably be the best.
it's the quickest.
It's just there's no substance
There's
in there.
no
It's just,
chunks,
It's just
yeah.
liquid.
Plus cold. Yeah, the cold chunks would.
Yes, it could be some sort of
That's
health
bothersome.
problems.
Yeah, that's bothersome.
That's uncooked chicken right there.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
stay away from that, probably.
I'm not a. Well, I think it's cooked chicken that just needs to be reheated, right?
yeah, it's already
It's not
cooked.
raw
There's nothing
chicken.
raw in there.
Yeah.
It's all cooked.
It's still disgusting when it goes down cold.
Let's heat it up. Let's heat it up.
You want me to heat it up?
No, I'm saying don't do chicken noodle soup. That would make me uncomfortable. Watching like as you're pouring it down your gullet and there's little chunks of chicken that are popping out into your mouth.
No, wait a minute. When you say shotgunning, are we doing like a beer shotgun where we're like opening and
You tell
siding?
me this was your idea.
I don't know.
You tell me.
It was
You
just
texted,
like-
I got a great idea. The loser's got a shotgun of soup. And I thought, I've never rooted harder for my team in my life. I don't want to shotgun a can of soup. That sounds horrible.
I hate tomato soup too. It's so gross.
There's got to be another liquidy soup that you could think of that's not chunk worthy. Like, because I think you just have to stay away from chunks. That's the main thing.
Oh, I'm sure there's
Let me look up types of soups.
there's like a creamy tomato that's probably a little more tasty than
go
a
like
regular.
a tomato
usually
basil.
Tomato
Yeah.
basil.
Yeah, something like that.
A lobster biscuit.
You know what's crazy is I love tomatoes. I love ketchup. I love a lot of things. Pasta sauce. I hate tomato soup. I can't explain why.
I'm with you in 100% agreement there. I can't stand it. Even
Really?
when I'm sick, I stay away from tomato soup.
I won't touch it.
The wife loves it. She'll do it with like a grilled cheese sandwich or something on a cold sick day.
Sure.
No, if I'm going soup, it's chicken noodle first, and then some form of you could get like a clam chowder or something like that. I have to have substance in my soup when I eat it.
You can't just drink something.
It's just liquid.
Yeah.
It's just a thick liquid.
Yeah.
Smooth. It's like a soup smoothie.
My mom used to try to make us do tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches on really end of the month paycheck situations.
Gotcha.
And I protested. I ate the grilled cheese, but I'm not drinking that crap. I hate that stuff.
I won't make you do a can of chili either. We won't make you do that.
I don't even think that would come out. I think it would just
Yeah, wouldn't be able to do that.
The spectacle on YouTube though would be worth all the clicks that we would get. What's Sprague doing at 8:30? Don't worry.
shotgunning a can of chili.
She's pouring some chili down his throat.
Stag chili.
This is gonna get a little awkward, a little uncomfortable.
Not good. No.
So yeah, I got an idea. You put your ideas in. We can draw them out of a hat, and then whenever you want to do it, we only got a week and a show left. That's it. Next Wednesday's our last one.
The other idea that I'm trying to remember all the ideas. I actually wrote them in a notebook at home. So the shotgunning a soup is one. The other one was doing an interview at any random moment. It could be with Doc Parker. It could be with, I don't know, Joe Blow that we get on the show to talk about a big story. And I have to, the loser would have to do the interview in a accent and not break the character the entire way.
That's pretty good.
Like I was
It has to
picturing-
be a guest that we know.
You think so?
I think so. I think it has to be somebody that we like had on before,
You
not
could,
like
you
a
could
first
do it
time.
with Barkley.
Barkley, yeah, but Barkley wouldn't. He'd just get distracted by it.
That would make it all the tougher for you to stay in
And he
character.
would keep asking you, "What the hell are you doing?"
And it turn into an SNL skit.
It would.
Oh, the worst thing is that in my mind, I heard Dirt doing a German accent to somebody, and just like, "What you want?
Tie me to the tree." That would be horrible.
But you won, and I lost, and
Thank
now this
God.
isn't as funny in my mind."
God, the Ducks covered that
No,
spread.
I know.
I needed that one.
You did.
I couldn't pull that off. If I had to do the fake accent, I think I would start laughing 2 questions in.
You've had to do worse punishments in this round of bets than I ever have.
I've had a tough stretch. I had to get a henna neck tattoo on the side of my neck one year.
Yep.
And that was the first Thanksgiving that I spent with my girlfriend, now wife. That was the first time I met her family. I had a henna neck tattoo of a nutria on the side of my neck. So, that one was fun. I had to walk around the office in a cheerleader outfit.
That one doesn't play anymore already. It's already aged awfully out of
Saying
society.
hi to all of our coworkers with my bare belly and wearing a bra and
I
underwear.
missed that too. That's too bad.
Well, the worst part was that I actually took that cheerleading outfit when he was done paying it off, and I packaged it back up and I returned it.
Never been worn.
Never washed it.
Never seen anything.
Some extra large gal bought an extra large cheerleading outfit for her sweet somebody, and
She
Dirt had
got
worn that
down.
outfit.
She got down in that outfit.
Yeah, she did. She did. I still have photos on my phone somewhere. Stupid bets.
That was the word. That one was uncomfortable. But we played it off okay.
Did you have the same thought I did very briefly when we found out the game was back on? Like, damn it, the bets are still on.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent. I don't know what next year's game's going to look like.
I
though.
do. Oregon 50, Oregon State 23.
I know. My mind already started to work of like, oh God, how many points is he going to ask for next year?
It's going to be at least a
47. Like, what are you going to get here? Oregon's going to win like 63-17, and you're going to cover a 50-point spread, and I'm going to lose the bet somehow. It's like giving you 30 strokes on the golf course, and I beat you by 29, but you're bragging about winning. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, gave me 30. I won.
You were good, Dirt. You weren't 30 strokes better, though.
That's right. You shot a 70. I shot a 99, and I won by a stroke.
Well, we'll figure it out. We'll do a drawing of the bowl, and we'll sort it out before the new year comes and we leave for our vacation.
Yeah, the only one that I've had, because you came up with names for yours, so I thought mine was the smudge.
Yeah.
And it was going to make whoever lost do the show with an opponent pacifier in their mouth the entire time. You can take it out to talk.
But I have to suck on
But
it.
when you're
during?
not talking, you
Ooh.
have to put the pacifier back in your mouth.
That's a sneaky good little punishment right there. You see, these are the ideas that
Yeah.
I like. Like, what would I not want to do,
Yes.
and like what would be funny to make the other person do?
You just got to sit there, and then whenever it's your turn, you take the pacifier out,
Sure.
and you can have your conversation on the show, and then you're done, and you got to put it back in.
Does it have to be a duck?
It has to be a duck
Binky.
pacifier.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Has to be a duck, or in my case, would have been a beaver pacifier.
Sure.
And that was the only one I came up with.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. We'll pay that off for the new year. We've got a great show today. There is a lot to discuss. The local team playing very well. We got some local storylines to get to. We got a segment that I've called Show May O Money. And I think you can get what I'm talking about with that one. So we'll get to that today.
I call that segment Cheating Bastards.
Yeah, we need to talk about this. There's a lot to unpack with it. We got the mail sack at 8:15. Let's start Monday Night Wolf. How about Trap Game Monday? Who saw all that coming? That's next. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
The Fan is on. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I thought of Dirt last night. I was watching the Monday night doubleheader going against each other.
Why would you schedule those games to start at the same time?
I kind of liked it.
I mean,
controversial.
I'm not
Kinda
complaining, but I would have preferred like a 20-minute staggered time.
I thought they did a good job, though, because they would go split screen when somebody got in the red zone or something was going on.
The tough part with that was I was watching the Giants and Packers game on cable and watching the Dolphins and Titans game on my iPad. My iPad was ahead of cable. So they showed the game-winning field goal on the iPad, and I was looking down, and I'm like, oh, okay, they won the game. It was before it was even on TV.
Well, I thought of you because I turned over and I saw Kirk Cousins on the Manning cast rocking a necklace that said Kohl's Cash.
You like that?
Kohl.
Oh, yeah.
The store that sells clothing.
Is there a better endorsement right there besides Chuck Barkley and Frito-Lay?
Did you see this?
I did not see this, no.
You look up on Twitter, Kirk Cousins. Just go to his account. He put a picture out. It looks like a rapper's chain, but it says Kohl's Cash.
Let's go, Kirk
because he's the Kohl's,
Hell yes, Kohl's Cash.
He's smart. He's cornering a market that nobody wants. And he's going to get a bunch of free stuff out of it.
The awkward white dad that wears jeans, man. That's Kirk Cousins.
They got dough to spend.
Yeah, yes, they do. I thought Mike Golick Jr. had the best tweet of the day yesterday. He said, extremely Italian quarterback and extreme meathead quarterback winning on the same night. Gold's Gyms across America are going to be wild tomorrow.
Yeah, with the tank tops. Everybody's getting their chest press on. Let's go, baby.
I want to get to the DeVitos, who were highlighted pretty much at the front of our television set all last night with his agent who looked like a crooked thief and his dad who was just living in the most Italian moment of his life.
There's going to be a Scorsese movie about that family at some point, and I can't wait to watch it.
I want an investigation on the agent. I want a docuseries.
Looks like an extra from a Sopranos.
Yes.
There's something going on there.
Somebody's point shaving.
Yeah,
there's some sort of offshore, importing, exporting that's taking place.
It's the striped like mobster jacket with the
double-breasted pinstripe
and the
baby,
black
the
turtleneck.
Fedora. It's awesome.
Yeah, that look in itself is just what you do. You're doing something illegal, aren't you? But I wanted to start with this. Did you know these two stats? Trailing by 14 under 3 minutes and won the game since 2000.
Oh, God.
Do you know how many teams have done this?
It got to be less than 5, I would imagine. It can't be that many.
It is not less than 5. It's exactly 5. Now that the Titans have done it. Prior to last night, it had only been 4. The 0-1 Bears did it against Cleveland. The 0-2 Browns against the Titans. The 0-3 Colts against Tampa Bay. And the 2016 Texans against Indianapolis. The other stat on this is Tennessee Titans, who won by trailing by 14, under 3. I give you that mark since 2000. That hasn't happened, though, since 2016. Going into that game, since 2016, teams in that position were 0-767.
And I believe the other 4 teams on that list all had to go to overtime to win the game.
In order to come
back. Do you guys
to
remember
win.
that 0-3 Colts-Bucks game? I'm being serious. The Peyton Manning comeback game?
No, I don't.
Was that the Monday night game when he threw like 5 touchdowns in the
Tampa.
fourth quarter or whatever? Yeah,
I remember that game.
God, it's unbelievable, man. I turned it off. When the Giants game ended.
Yeah, you text us that you showered.
The Giants game ended, and I had gambled on Packers money line and Dolphins -6.5. And so it was such a roller coaster of emotions because Barkley fumbled when he was like fumble. And then the Titans muffed a punt inside the 10-yard line. I'm like, this is the luckiest 2-minute stretch of gambling in my life. I can't believe that just happened.
Yep.
Dolphins scored. Packers take the lead. I'm like, yes, we're cashing a ticket tonight. And then, of course, the Giants came back and won. And when that happened, I was kind of emotionally done with the night because my parlay was cooked. And I thought, there's 2 minutes to go. They're still trailing. This game's over.
Oh.
And I went and I jumped in the shower. And then I got out of the shower. And you guys had like 7 texts. And I'm like, I guess I missed a pretty entertaining finish of that football game. Oopsies. I will say the takeaway from that, I don't know how it's anything else other than Tyreek Hill's the MVP of the league.
Should be.
You take him out of that lineup, you take him off of that offense, and all of a sudden they can't move the ball at all.
He was out 2 quarters.
To save their life against Tennessee. He comes back in the fourth, and what happens? They scored 17 points in the fourth quarter and then blew a 2-touchdown lead. He is the MVP of the league this year, or at least one of the front runners.
And he won't get it.
And he probably won't get it, which is why the award is dumb.
Make it a quarterback award if he's not going to be able to win it.
Like, that is an all-time collapse that's going to have a ripple effects, I think, for weeks, because Baltimore now, it feels like, is a shoo-in to be the number 1 seed. And
I have to look at their schedule.
It's another team that I look at in the AFC. Like, that's the team that's on their heels in the standings. Does anybody trust Miami come playoff time?
Well, I'll actually ask this because I thought that was a takeaway from me, too, and I want to get to the Packer thing, but it's hard. I almost did a poll question on this yesterday, but I was not trying to oversaturate the poll question market at Dirt and Sprague. Legitimately asking this, do you feel like you trust Buffalo more than you trust Miami or even Baltimore? And Buffalo's not even in the playoffs.
Yes, I 100% do.
The problem is Buffalo's schedule's kind of rough.
I think Buffalo can go 3-1 in their final 4.
See, here's the thing. Buffalo's schedule has they have one tough game. They host Dallas this weekend.
Not true. They're at Miami to end the year.
In the last week of the season, sure, but go look who they play in the 2 weeks between that.
New England and the Chargers.
Yeah. With Easton Stick and Bailey Zappi.
And I think it's at Chargers, so that's going to be a home road game for them.
Here's Miami's remaining month of schedule. The Jets at home, which, you'd assume, but you never know. Jets, home against the Cowboys, at Baltimore, home against Buffalo.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily, with the way the Jets can play defense, there's not really a gimme on there. They should win that game this weekend, but I would have told you they were a 2-touchdown favorite and they should have beaten Tennessee.
They wouldn't let me parlay it. I wanted to live parlay Broncos, Bills, division winners yesterday. Broncos is plus 750, and they're only a game back, and the Chiefs they don't look good.
No.
And the Bills are only 2 back with the 4 remaining games in that schedule. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility here. I think that's the point, though. I like Miami. They're a fun story. I think Tyreek is definitely MVP worthy. I like their coach, but yeah, there's not a lot of trust there. But again, we talked about this yesterday. The AFC picture is crazy.
I mean, you got 2-touchdown lead with 3 minutes to go, and
DeAndre Hopkins is hard to defend.
And they drove the length of the field twice. It's not like there was they muffed the kickoff or something and gave it to him on the 10.
This highlights why you have to be able to run the football, man. You have to be able to run the football.
They didn't run it last. I didn't understand McDaniel's play calling.
Sure, but in that
half of their offensive line was injured.
Yeah.
They had backups on half the line.
A-Chain should not have 7 carries.
That last offensive possession, they went run, no gain, and then I believe an incompletion from Tua, and you punt the ball right back to Tennessee.
Yeah,
You're trying to milk the clock. They call 2 timeouts. They end up getting the ball back basically north of the 2-minute warning.
What do you make of DeVito and the Giants, who Dirt tells me before the show, the Giants are only a game back of the playoffs? And I'm like,
the bottom of the NFC is
it's a disaster.
Kevin O'Connor had a great tweet last night. He said, every sport is desperate to find stars, like marketable stars that we can find, that people care about, that they want to talk about.
Yeah.
And here's the NFL rolling out Danny DeVito in this Italian family.
Tommy Cold Cuts.
And it's just become this thing.
Tommy Cutlets.
This is now a thing. This will be a footnote. He will be forgotten, but for the moment, this is like the rage of the NFL.
Is this the latest iteration of Linsanity in New York?
But we just had this a couple of weeks ago. How's Josh Dobbs playing right now?
Yeah, the Pasternauts.
He got lifted for Nick Mullins at the end of that
He's
game.
crashed down to earth.
Yes, but for like 3 weeks, that was
great.
An awesome story. It's kind of Jake Browning now.
The Browns
it's
have had
DeVito.
games won by 4 different starting quarterbacks this season.
Like, it's just, this is
I have a segment on this.
This is such an NFL story that this guy is taking the world by storm. I don't really have any Giants takeaways. It's fun. Like, his family is hilarious.
I think
to
there's
look
a
at.
Packer takeaway,
There's
right?
a Packer takeaway right when you believe that Green Bay is a contender. Look at that. They're playing good ball. They beat Kansas City. They beat Detroit. Here come the Packers. You cannot lose that game. You just can't. That's like, the Giants are not good. You cannot lose it. And that was an embarrassing loss.
It's a bad loss for sure, but it's definitely a reminder for you. Every weekend, just like my Florida State versus Dirt's Alabama take, right? Everybody thinks they know what's going to happen in football. 2 minutes to go, 14-point lead, and it's the garbage-ass Titans in Miami after Miami does a wheelbarrow race for a touchdown celebration. And the Titans won.
That's right.
Football is dumb.
4th and goal from the 31 to win it.
I'm not even saying this to prove a point. I'm legitimately telling you, I sat in my living room and I watched both of these games and I just chuckled out loud. I'm like, Nobody knows anything about this sport.
No.
You cannot tell me if you knew for certain whether Tommy DeVito was going to beat the Packers or the Titans and Will Levis would come back by 14 in the final 2 minutes against the Dolphins. Nobody saw that. Not a soul. And that's why you should never dismiss the idea of any football matchup being weird.
Yeah, I would counter with Miami and Green Bay are not Alabama. They're not. I think Green Bay's a below 500 football team this year. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on that one.
They are now.
They're not very good, and they might not make the playoffs. So there's a bit of a difference. But to your point on the NFL, this is why it's almost impossible to gamble sometimes. You never know. You have no clue what's going to happen in some of these games. And I'm glad that the old heads don't have something to yell about because Vrabel went for 2 after scoring the first touchdown. And look what happened. And there's not a single person on social media who is screaming in a cloud about, why do you do this? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, that's why you do it. It doesn't always work out. There's about a 50-50 chance you're going to pick up a 2-point conversion. If you get the first one, you score again, you kick the PAT, you win the football game.
Old heads are out there. They'll let you know when coaches need to punt.
Only when it goes wrong. That's the only time anybody ever criticizes
this morning.
2-point conversions and 4th down decisions. When you get them wrong, everybody criticizes and you're an idiot. When you get it right, nobody says a word.
Kerry Eggers had that in the Civil War. Oregon State was going for it on like 4th and 5. It was like their own. It was like Oregon's 43-yard line or something. And Kerry was like, why would you not punt here? And I'm like, you need points.
You're losing.
Guess what Oregon did the next possession? They scored a touchdown. That's why you go for it.
That's why you try it.
It's in 1982 anymore. All right, good stuff there on the doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, Tommy Cold Cuts. God, I love the nicknames.
This dude's just taking over the NFL. You got to love that sport.
Coming up next, Shohei Ohtani. Let's talk about this illegal cheating scheme going on in L.A. Next on The Fan.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's The Classic American Steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tannis Corner, online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan, it was a double dose of Monday Night Drama. First in New Jersey, the legend of Tommy DeVito continues to grow, leading his hometown Giants to a game-winning field goal as time expired. A 24-22 win over the Packers. At the same time in Miami, the Dolphins took 2 gift fumbles from the Titans in the fourth quarter, led by 14 with 3 minutes to go, only to allow Will Levis to lead Tennessee on not 1 but 2 touchdown drives, including a 2-point conversion for the 28-27 upset. It is their first road win of the season, spoiling the chance for Miami to grab control of the number 1 seed in the AFC. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert seeing a specialist today for the injured finger on his throwing hand. If surgery is necessary, he will likely miss the rest of the regular season. Shohei Ohtani officially signed his 10-year contract with the Dodgers Monday. Details coming out of the record deal indicate he will defer $680 of the record's $700 million in this deal. Blazers were missing Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, and Malcolm Brogdon. They got a combined 84 points from Scoot, Simons, and Sharp, and still came up short of upsetting the Clippers 132-127 in L.A. Portland back home Thursday to face the Jazz. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The home of prime time with Isaac and Sue. 1080 The Fan.
I dare you not to dance to this song. We need cocaine. Let's get it going. Shohei Ohtani got a 10-year, $700 million deal with the Doyers. We talked about that yesterday. And yesterday afternoon, I was really proud of myself, actually. Can I tell you something?
What do you got, Bob?
Been hanging on by a thread this year. I've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes. And this has been my therapy, along with my therapy every Tuesday. I, most of the year, have been like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, show sheet, reading, falling asleep. What? Laptop's open, got to go to bed. Yesterday afternoon, show sheet was basically completed sans the Blazer results. And this story coming out in the afternoon, I had wrapped up the show sheet, and then the Shohei news broke.
We got to call a hot route. We got to go Omaha here.
I had to read. I had to listen.
Yes.
Shohei Ohtani, of his $700 million, is going to have $680 deferred. He is going to be making $2 million per year. Yes.
Well, for his contract.
Well, that's, yeah.
From the Dodgers, he will be making $2 million a year.
He'll be making Mason Plumlee money to be one of the best baseball players to ever breathe oxygen. And this has set off a firestorm throughout baseball and sports fans.
Yeah.
Because I think most of us had heard of deferred contracts. The Bobby Bonilla day is a thing.
Yep.
I'm fairly certain this has never happened, and nobody knew that you could defer this kind of amount of money.
Mookie Betts has some deferrals in his contract. I want to say it's 3 years. When the deal is done, he's going to make like $8 million, $10 million, and $11 million. It's something. Those are basically ballpark where the numbers are. So guys do this all the time.
Andrew Nicholson, we're still paying him.
The Bobby Bonilla deal.
Anderson Varejao.
Still playing Festus as
Are we?
Probably.
Yes.
I think we are. We're probably so. Yeah, I don't even want to get down that rabbit hole. The Bonilla thing was a buyout. So the Mets wanted out of it. He had $5.9 million left on his contract. The Mets thought with all these great investments we're making with Bernie Madoff, $5.9 million is going to be fine. We'll pay it off in 10 years. And they've now paid out $29 million, $30 million, whatever it is. And so it ended up being a horrible idea for them to do that. But that wasn't like, let's take money from your contract and you're still playing for the Mets and you're going to get it when you retire. That was, they wanted out of the deal, and they did it to essentially the stretch provision. This should not be allowed under any circumstance.
This feels illegal, doesn't it?
This should be 100% illegal.
This feels like cheating.
Dude, so the number that's going to count against their luxury tax is like $45 million.
46, according to Passage.
How you figure that out, I don't know, because the number he's supposed to make every year is 70. The number he's actually going to make is 2. And then we decide, 46, 45. All right, let's just make up a number out of thin air. That's still nearly $30 million less than what he is contractually obligated to make. This should not be allowed, and if I were a Major League Baseball owner, I would be up in arms about this. This is blatant cheating. This is blatant manipulation of the system. It absolutely is. If this was my team, I'd say the same thing. Who cares? Beat us if you like. I would have the same philosophy.
Right.
This isn't my team. This is blatant cheating to allow them to go out and spend more money. They're also going to make a ton of money because Shohei Ohtani is going to be a Dodger. Ticket prices are going to go up. You're going to sell all the merchandise,
advertising.
They're going to make money hand over fist for the next 10 years.
Japanese merch, by the way.
Yes, they're going to be able to invest all that money and pay this out. For Shohei, it's a brilliant idea. Like, tip of the cap to him. He makes $40 million at least a year in endorsements. He doesn't need the money now. Like, kudos to you, dude. You move out of California, you make $68 million a year tax-free in, like, Texas or Florida when you retire. It's a brilliant idea on his part. But from a salary situation, like this is manipulation at its finest, and it should not be allowed.
I'm going to throw it to you, Swag, because the allegations of cheating and illegal have been thrown at you and your franchise. I thought the Braves were cheating, getting Acuna on an 8-year, $100 million deal. And then this happened yesterday, and I went, no, that's actually what cheating looks like to me.
No, it's right. All the rules are right there. And if something says, if there's no rule against it, then why not? Now, the next time the collective bargaining agreement comes up, I guarantee there will be a cap on the percentage of deferred salary that can be on any given contract, because the other owners are all going to be, they're all feeling like dirt. But It's brilliant.
It's really
I don't
smart
think when
for the
they
team.
put it together, they ever saw contract values getting to that level.
No, I bet you
Or
if
that
you
much
asked-
getting deferred. Like
Yeah.
you could do $5 million, $10 million, like whatever, that's fine. $68 million a year for 10 years.
Brilliant.
$680 million.
If you would have asked the Dodgers themselves, do you know you're going to defer 680 of your 700? I don't think they would have believed that was going to be a possibility until because all the reports say that he is the one that initiated this because he doesn't want to be stuck with the guy who has the massive deal, but never wins because, we're broke as hell to pay you. So he is deferring this money. There's a lot of hot intel that this Yamamoto cat from Japan, this great pitching prospect that everybody wants, that he's kind of always been a Dodger fan. I think the Hideo Nomo thing is a huge cultural impact on this, and that he wants to play with another Japanese player. There you go, Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if they'll get him, but that's the intel.
Oh, they definitely are.
What
They're going to
this-
get Blake Snell, too. I mean, this is why it's a blatant manipulation and cheating.
What this made me think of was two things. The first I'll say is if I'm a Mariner fan, we use them a lot. We talk about them from time to time because they're kind of the local-ish team. How as a Mariner fan are you not just irate that they could have done something like this with any player in the last 5 years?
Yeah, the tough part with Shohei that I think he had this kind of offer probably from a lot of different teams because he's Shohei Ohtani. The dude wants to win. That's why he's doing this. That's why it was his idea. It's because he wants to have enough around him to win. He has gone through playing with Mike Trout and not making the playoffs. He's never played in a playoff game. He wants to win. And I honestly, I respect the hell out of that, man. This is taking a team-friendly deal
And
essentially for 10 years on a low payout. But the whole point of the luxury tax and the thresholds is that you are punished if you spend more money than everybody else. If you want to pay that tax, go ahead. You're more than willing. You can do it all you want, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. Like imagine if Golden State was able to do this with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And Steph Curry said, "You know what? No, just give me $1.5 million for the next 5 years, and you could go out and sign another supermax contract, and then give me the rest of the 50 to 60 million when I retire." It's ridiculous.
Or just roll it over in an ownership stake, and I'm a god in Japan. I don't need the money.
Now,
I'm
the
a
team
billionaire.
still
can't
has
compete.
No.
Team still has to have the cash flow. They have to put cash reserves in escrow. So you can't just say we'll pay you down the road and
of
not
course.
have the reserves. So the Dodgers are still. So there's not too many other teams that could pull off a stunt like this because you have to put the cash reserves away in an escrow. So it's just. I mean, there's a capologist in there or somebody in the financial office that should win Executive of the Year, quite frankly.
Very quickly, because we're already against it, I want to get to this quarterback thing. If you're being 100% genuinely honest here, because I thought about this too from my fandom standpoint, is it going to feel a little weird or not as cool if your team does win this whole enchilada? You get these pitching guys and you got this
because
lineup?
I look at what the Yankees did all those years. I mean, the numbers.
But that's why we hated the Yankees. It was just like you just
I
bought
look
your
at
titles.
what what was that guy's name? Wayne Huizenga with the Marlins.
Yeah.
So he went out, bought all those free agents,
in
and
97.
then. So no, I think there's enough history. You're the Dodgers. You know. This is what teams like the Dodgers, there's no salary cap or anything in Major League Baseball the way there is in other leagues. If you have the means and you can pull it off and you can sustain it and you're not mortgaging the future, they really aren't.
Who cares about the future? Win the title.
Yeah.
Who cares?
So, no, I don't think so.
I mean, if any of our teams did this, we would have the same exact take as Swag. I don't blame him for feeling this way. We just have the perspective of sitting on the other side of the fence and looking at this, saying it should not be allowed. This is an embarrassment for Major League Baseball.
Well, my team
Baseball
won
will close this up the next time they have to negotiate.
If the Dodgers win 3 World Series in a row with Shohei Ohtani and all these other guys they
There's
can
going to be
pay.
3 more Argyle bottles right next to the one from 2020.
I think Dirk can relate to me on this, though. Sure, we went and got Jorge Soler But the Braves winning the World Series a couple years back, it felt great because almost all of those key guys, homegrown guys. It just feels a little different, I think, when that happens.
And people bring up your team because guys have signed team-friendly deals. That's totally different, man. That's guys who were just, hey, I want to get paid. I want long-term financial security. Yeah. Acuna and Albies, those guys were like, yeah, dude, give me an 8-year deal for $100 million. That's life-changing money for me. I'm happy to sign it.
They gave Riley a $200 million deal.
That's different than having to pay a guy $2 million. I know you got to put money in escrow, but fans don't care about that. They're going to be making money hand over fist, so it's not going to cost them anything. That you could almost argue that with the amount of money they're going to make with the Ohtani contract, you could pay the $680 million off of the interest of what you've made just from having him in a Dodger uniform.
I do think, though, the Dodgers, as opposed to some of the Yankee teams or whatever, they have enough of their homegrown guys that they've developed. Will Smith, they've developed. Well, Kershaw was their guy. A lot of the pitchers, Outman now, Gavin Lux, they're still their guys.
You got like 5 guys, man. You got 5. A middle reliever,
your 4th starter who might not even
bats 9th in the lineup and hits a
Walker Buehler, Dustin May.
Easy, Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, easy.
Whoa! I'm stretching too quick there, too far.
Out, man. I think we're just making up names now.
Well,
I hate you.
There's one team that would know about cheating. Be the Giants.
Wow. Okay. We need to move on. This is going to get contentious. Baseball talk in the winter.
Cheating bastards.
Coming up next, the reality of the National Football League. I want to walk you through the dark reality that is football. Next on The Fan.
on 1080 The Fan.
I'm going to dive into some Blazers in the second hour of the show and the transfer portal. But I wanted to talk about backup quarterbacks stemming from some conversation we had yesterday of the National Football League. It feels like it's just backup quarterbacks all over. You see two last night. I'm going to run through the gauntlet here. Panthers, rookie quarterback. Texans, rookie quarterback. Giants are on their third string. Patriots on their second or third string, depending on the week. Steelers, second string. Vikings, fourth string. Seahawks, second string. Raiders, second string. Chargers, second string. Bengals, second string. Cleveland, fourth quarterback. Indy, second string. Titans, rookie. And that's not counting the other teams that have their quarterbacks back that missed some games.
Yeah.
It has been a wild season of backup and bad quarterback play. I saw Joe Flacco was on Albert Breer's 10 takeaways. I just kind of sift through these every week. His 10 takeaways from the week. And one of his takeaways was Joe Flacco in Cleveland. And he has this blurb where he says he's a great fit for what Cleveland is. And Flacco in the postgame said, I'm 38, but I feel 25.
Hey, cool Joe, man.
Joe Flacco might be a top 12 quarterback in the National Football League right now, which is insane to say out loud.
Cleveland Browns in the number one wild card slot in the AFC right now.
Who zigger-zagged on that a week ago? Might have been ahead of the game. You don't want to play those Brownies.
It is an alarming trend for the NFL that Joe Flacco might be a top 15 quarterback right now in the league.
I don't think we can name 10 better than him right now.
I don't know if you can either. That's terrifying, and it's alarming. And there's an epidemic of bad quarterback play and bad quarterbacks and bad quarterback situations. Do not allow, whatever you do not allow last night to distract you from how bad some of this football has been. Largely because quarterback play is inept and because offensive line play is not very good. For every, Danny DeVito cold cuts game that you get a 3-0 Vikings Raiders. Aiden O'Connell can't get a first down. Dobbs gets benched. Like, there's a lot of bad football that's getting played. Some of it has been in primetime situations this year. Last night was fun. It was a slight reprieve. But this is why I think I have gone back completely on a take that I had a couple of years ago. And we were all pretty much in agreement with when they expanded the playoffs and added that extra wild card. It's like, hey, this is great, an extra playoff game. All right. And now you look at the teams that are competing year in and year out for the 7th seed in the AFC and the NFC.
The NFC, Dirt, you painted a picture earlier.
Dude, the Giants are a game out of the playoffs. The Packers are currently still lit. The Seahawks are in the mix. Atlanta's in the mix. That's a team, by the way, that I would throw in. Desmond Ridder is not a starter in the NFL.
No.
He should fall into this category. That dude sucks, but he's still the starter somehow.
There's going to be
Atlanta.
an under 500 team that wins that's going to host a playoff game and get boat
the
raced
NFC
by
South,
either
yes.
Philly or Dallas.
Tampa's in
whoever
first.
wins.
They're in first in the NFC South right now.
And they
the wild card
12
team suck.
Dirt, they had 12 points in the final 4 minutes of that game. They had a drive by Baker and company to win it. They had 12 points.
There's nothing you could do to protect guys and keep them healthy. It's a physically violent game. They protect quarterbacks as much as they possibly can, and these guys are still getting hurt. It's one of the reasons, though, I do chuckle when the Lamar stuff comes up, because everybody says, well, you can't pay Lamar. He's going to get hurt. And now here we are at the end of the AFC, and I'm looking up and down like, how many of these guys are starting quarterbacks? Because he's still healthy, and a lot of guys are dropping like flies.
He, by the way, I wanted to hold the stat, but I had looked at this about 3-4 weeks ago when Burrow got hurt. He officially has played, since Burrow got in the NFL, Lamar has played more games than Joe Burrow. Yeah. And during the summer when we talked about Lamar getting paid, Burrow and Allen and Mahomes, all these dudes were being named. Herbert got his deal.
Yep.
And everybody was like, yeah, you got to pay those guys. They stay healthy. Lamar has played more games since Joe Burrow's gotten in the NFL than Joe Burrow. And I'm not going to suggest that Burrow's injury prone.
No, it's just freak stuff. It happens in football.
I kind of subscribe to the Mina Kimes theory that she said on NFL Live last week. It's just unlucky things. It's just circumstance. It's not one guy's bone is less dense or whatever than the other guy. It's just bad luck happens to players sometimes.
Not enough 2% milk.
No, but you are right. As many DeVitos in the crowd doing this gesture with their hands, kissing cheeks. Hey. You do get Aiden O'Connell 3-0 loss to the Minnesota Vikings, and Nick Mullins and Antonio Pierce is going, I don't know who's going to be my starting quarterback. I'm like, you had no first downs and no points. I know who your starting quarterback shouldn't be. That guy that just played, Play the other guy.
Tim Boyle has started games in the NFL this year. Tim Boyle.
Man.
Has started games in the NFL this year.
Herbert's finger is jacked up. You're going to get Easton Stick.
It is jacked up. It's broken. He's done.
If he plays again this year, they should just burn that organization to the ground.
Yeah.
They have nothing to play for.
Easton
it's another
Stick
injury.
And fill in the blank for the Raiders on Thursday night.
You know, there's a real possibility. We're going to watch it all because we're sickos. There's real ugly potential first-round wild card weekend games that I'm going to tell my family, no, I can't do anything on Sunday and Saturday.
Yeah.
I've got wild card football to watch. I've got Tommy DeVito on the road at Baker Mayfield.
I don't know what else is going on Thursday night. I am not going to watch a second of that
You're
game.
such a liar.
I'm not. I'm not gambling on that game. I'm not watching a second.
You're lying.
What else is happening Thursday night? Give me
gives
something.
a rip? You're not going to watch
You got
Easton
Blazers,
Stick?
Jazz in the Moda Center.
I'll watch that. I haven't watched a full Blazer game in a while. Give me Blazers and Jazz.
You haven't watched the Jazz. I'm preparing you now.
It's a chance for a win, man. Let's go. Rip City, baby. We're back. We're competitively losing. Come on. Fever Dream is here.
It is a chance to win.
Is the PNC Challenge a four-round event?
I don't know, but I'm going to tape delay it if it is, and I'll watch it in the evening. Tiger and Charlie. Far more entertaining than Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick.
Annika's playing with her son in it, too.
I mean, you could tell me that I'm lying, and I probably will end up watching some of it. There is literally no reason to watch any of that game.
The winner's
one reason.
Because the winner's going to be 6-8 and still alive in the wild card.
That's not a reason. That's not a reason.
I mean, that is a reason.
That's not a reason.
Doesn't have to be a good enough reason for you.
If that team makes the playoffs, whoever the 3 seed is in the AFC or 2 seed will beat their brains in.
The Jazz are the equivalent of watching Easton Stick. I just want to give you a heads up on that before you do it. Just be ready, okay? I warned you.
I'm not watching a second of that game. I'm boycotting.
You got Warriors and Clippers on NBA TV.
Yeah, I hate watching the Clippers. We'll talk about them later.
I mean, it's just unfortunate. I don't know. It's amazing how big the drop off is from elite starting quarterbacks to a lot of these backups, and how different the product is when you have these guys out. And there's a lot of games that are they're really tough to watch. But it's the NFL. Nothing affects the NFL. They're the king. Doesn't matter what they do. They can murder puppies live on television, and 40 million people around America would tune in to watch. There's a lot of bad product out there this year, and it doesn't affect it whatsoever.
Loaded second hour. I want to start in the portal, and then we'll get to the Blazers Clippers stuff. Hour 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and YouTube.
Still don't have the perfect time.
of Colin Cowherd. Always live on the Odyssey app is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan.
Ad-libbing, off-script.
An Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, your Monday night doubleheader had both games coming down to the wire. In New Jersey, the legend of Tommy DeVito continued. He took his hometown Giants down the field as time expired for a game-winning field goal to beat the Packers 24-22. Meanwhile, in Miami, the Dolphins had got 2 gift fumbles from the Titans in the fourth quarter. They led by 14 with 3 minutes to go, and then allowed Will Levis to lead Tennessee on not 1 but 2 touchdown drives, plus a 2-point conversion for the 28-27 upset, their first road win of the season, spoiling the chance for the Fish to grab control of the number 1 seed in the AFC. Shohei Ohtani officially signed his 10-year contract with the Dodgers Monday. The details coming out of the record deal show that he will defer $680 of the record $700 million in that deal. Blazers were missing Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, and Malcolm Brogdon. They got a combined 84 points from Scoot, Simons, and Sharp, but came up just short of upsetting the Clippers in L.A., 132-127. Portland home Thursday to host the Jazz. College hoops tonight on The Fan. The Oregon Ducks hosting Cal Baptist, 7 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage at 6:30 following primetime. Ducks currently 11.5-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
The problem most men have is they don't know how to talk to women.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
You know what my problem is? I am not interesting.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brandon Sprague.
What am I supposed to say? I went to magic camp. I'm an accomplished ventriloquist.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Oh, I am a 7th degree imperial yo-yo master. Oh, do me, yo-yo master. I want you to do me because you're the yo-yo guy.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course, youtube.com/1080 The Fan. Thank you for rocking with us.
What'd you just say?
What?
I think he's saying mail sack.
Mail sack? That's at 8:15.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you haven't teased it.
You got to tease it, man.
I teased it in the first hour. In the opening segment,
you said that like Barry White in our ears.
You did. You went, this was in my ear as I'm talking. I want you guys to know, when you see him on YouTube
this is what you
say something, and you're like, I didn't hear what he said, this is in my ear.
What is that?
Go check the tape. I teased it in the first hour of the show.
Was that a fart?
That was a fart.
That was a fart. Oh, hey.
Mail sack, 8:15. Get those questions in. You can do them on youtube.com or
yes, you can.
The Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. And if you missed the first hour, we argued about the Dodgers cheating.
Yes.
Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cold Cuts, Tommy Cutlets winning Monday Night Football. You can check out the first hour of the show at 1080thefan.com under what we like to call the Service Patriots podcast section. And you can check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thevan. Get to some Scoot Shaden Ant basketball against the Clippers yesterday. Some Duop Reith.
I saw a crazy number about his plus-minus this year that blew me away.
He's a very, very good international basketball player. That was a smart pickup by us.
His plus, like, when he's on the floor, it's insane how much they outscore the opponent by.
And then when he goes off, it's like, oh, we're a minus.
Like, who is this guy? Did we find the new Dikembe Mutombo? What's happening here, man?
With a jump shot, maybe, yeah.
Hey.
I want to start the second. I wanted to do a portal check-in. Jump into the portal. I don't know what kind of sound. I was trying to get to a sound effect at home. It sounded like a wind.
Yeah, I know. You're getting sucked by the portal. Sucking you in, man. Where'd you go? I don't know. He's in the portal.
You want to pull that one? You're getting sucked by the portal? That'd be great.
You don't like getting sucked by the portal?
Jonathan Smith did. Michigan State. Hey, yo! I want to start with USC. I thought this was interesting. They announced a hire. They hired North Dakota State head coach Matt Ince. Ince, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
They hired him as the linebacker coach / defensive assistant head coach, whatever that title means. He was 60-10 and won an FCS title, and they got him to be a linebackers coach. So Lincoln Riley and company, they hired the UCLA coordinator as well. They're taking clearly the shots that everybody threw at him all year. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know if it'll be good. But he's at least showing that he gives a damn about that side of the ball. UCLA's defense was one of the best in the conference this year. And I'm just going to assume this is a good pickup because that guy was dominating FCS football, and he got him to lead a head coaching gig.
Yeah, I mean, the last North Dakota State head coach, I believe before him was Chris Kleinman, was it not, who went to Kansas State?
I believe so.
So that guy got a Power 5 job. This guy taking a linebacker job, I'm a little interested in why. He said, I think his words were, USC's a top 5 program in the country, and I want to work at USC. More power to him, man. Look, you're making the right hires. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is going to be Jimmy's and Joe's, because you can be as smart as you want schematically, but if you don't have the players on that side, if you don't have the beef on the defensive line, you have to upgrade your talent over there. And I will say, as the year went on, UCLA's defense was very good this year. I was a full-on believer. I did feel like as the year went on, it was a little more fugazi than we thought. They didn't have to play Washington this season. They didn't have to play Oregon this season, who were clearly the 2 best teams in the conference, and I don't really know if anybody was close. And so that's going to affect your numbers a little bit, not having to play those 2 teams in Pac-12 play, not to mention the fact they didn't play a Power 5 team in non-conference.
That's a fair point.
I'm not saying he's a bad defensive coordinator.
No, I know.
I was guilty of this at times here in the year. I was looking at their numbers like, Jesus, this defense is the best in the conference. And then you look at who they played and who they held down, and you're like, well, maybe not.
Well, I mean, they have the premier edge rusher that you always can benefit from. What I would say, though, I think you're hitting on some right things. I think also that offense kind of helped break them a little bit.
Oh, the offense was the reason UCLA lost games. No doubt. Yeah, their defense was not the problem on that football team.
Oregon State picked up a transfer lineman from Colorado. However, they also got a decommitment from a 3-star. Do you know who offered that 3-star yesterday?
I'm going to guess Michigan State.
You would be correct. There was a high school kid. I don't care to name them because none of these kids stick at schools. That's why I don't follow high school recruiting the way I follow the transfer portal.
Yeah.
But they had another decommitment, and they also lost their stud running back yesterday. Pivotal blow. Atticus Sappington is in the portal. We've lost Sir General Atticus Sappington.
Yeah, that one stings. That's such a cool name. He almost ran in a touchdown in Tucson.
Well,
great athlete.
Careful with the almost. 20 yards out.
It was nails, kicking field goals all year.
He was actually. Only missed one kick all year.
Really good year, man. We would gladly take him in Eugene, Oregon.
I swear to God, if you keep taking all of the players Oregon State
We haven't taken anybody yet.
But you want to. Like, it's just gross, man.
I mean, he had a good corner. We'll take him. We got to pick and choose, certain players.
He's in the portal. We got a freshman in the portal.
Can I ask you guys this question as Beavers? So I saw Aiden Childs is in the portal, obviously. We all know where he's going to go. There's a whole nother conversation there for me because if I'm Aiden Childs, I'm not going to Michigan State. I understand that he likes Jonathan Smith. That thing's a rebuild. Good luck winning in the next 2 years.
We disagree on this topic.
Sure. If I were him, I think his profile has been risen to the point where he can kind of pick and choose where he wants to go.
Sure.
And why you would sign up for that rebuild, I don't know. I would want to go have a chance to win over the next 2 years, and then he's probably going to go to the NFL. But I did see he tweeted at one of the corners got an offer from Oregon. These guys all tweet out not all of them, but some of them tweet out when they get an offer from a school. And he did the vomiting emoji thing
for the Ducks.
Did Beaver fans like that? Because he's technically leaving.
Yes.
He was only there for a year.
No,
so
they like that.
We're cool with that. Okay.
Well, because he's embracing. He is leaving.
He's leaving your program.
But he at least is embracing the hatred side of the rivalry and saying, never will I go to that team.
You know how you could really embrace it is staying at Oregon State and beating Oregon next year.
He doesn't want to, I think, play in the Mountain West.
Okay.
So.
I know. I saw that and I was like, I would have really mixed emotions over that. Like, I'm glad you feel that strongly about the rivalry, but you're also bailing on my school.
Once a Beaver, always a Beaver dirt.
Okay.
DJ had a once a Beaver, always a Beaver.
He's always a Beaver, man. He was there for 6 months, always a Beaver.
Clemson fan caught wind of that and went, what? You were there for 4 months.
Excuse me.
Sure. Okay.
Count it.
Can you guys talk me off the ledge here? I want to give a quick shout out.
No, I got nothing.
Our former intern and a P1, Peter. He runs the Digital Dam on Twitter account, which trolls Dirt half the time of his existence, which is great because Dirt will come like, but he's done a lot of really good things for Oregon State. He's helped organize a lot of Dam Collective NIL stuff. You can go check his account out. He's doing a great job. I've kind of been the opposite side, I think, of a lot of social media Beaver fan where I'm kind of seeing what the writing on the wall is. And again, I'm pulling for our guys. It's not a good situation, and I'm kind of tired of pretending that, like, it's just not happening. They're losing a lot of talent.
Yes.
They're having decommitments left, and I know they got the lineman from Colorado, but, like, Colorado's line sucked. I don't know. I didn't want to say that, but here it is. I said it. Talk me off the ledge here.
Like, we got to commit. And I looked up where he played, and I thought, ooh.
I wanted nothing to do with Colorado's offensive line last year. Dion wanted nothing to do with it. So I just... Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm trying to stay optimistic for our Beaver brethren that believe, but it's been hard for me. I'm on the ledge right now.
They kept the conference from giving itself a whole bunch of money.
I don't care about that story. Just tell me when the money's actually there. When the money's hit the account, let me know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't care. I don't want to pretend to know what I'm talking about.
It doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things yet, because it's not. You don't have the ability to buy your way into a conference or buy your way into a better football roster.
It's just hard, man. It's
I have nothing positive to say. I have tried to remain optimistic the entire time. I was the guy that when the whole thing blew up, I said, hey, man, at least you're going to have a shot and a pathway to the college football playoff in the Mountain West. But the tough part with that was we all kind of envisioned that future with Jonathan Smith. That was a big part of it. And we had Brandon Huffman on the show last week. And I was fascinated because I almost won at some point this week. We haven't talked at all about Washington State. They lost Cam Ward. To my knowledge, I don't think they've had any other big-time guys. Not that they had a ton of them.
They lost Josh Kelly.
Okay, Josh Kelly, the wide receiver.
Their best wide receiver, yeah.
Sure, but there hasn't been the mass exodus at Washington State as there has been at Oregon State. And I think part of that is the coaches sticking around, and it's like, let's see where our landscape is going to be. And you could argue Oregon State had more talented players, so they're more sought after in the portal.
I think yeah.
Sure, but they have other guys that can go play Division I football, and they haven't had half the roster leave. The whole point of Smith staying was to cobble this thing together. That was the argument that we made, and it's why if I'm a Beaver fan, I would never forgive him for that move. You understand it, sure, but you stabbed the program and the university in the back at literally the worst time, and all of these players leaving is a direct correlation with you. If Aiden Giles is that eager to go play at Michigan State next year, there's a part of me that thinks he definitely would have stuck around if Jonathan Smith was still here.
He certainly would have.
And you would have had some semblance of a hope, of a future, of him and Damian Martinez, and it just, all of it has crumbled. And when you hired Trent Bray, the main argument that I and others, I think you made as well, was he's the guy you have to hire to try and keep the roster together. The players were advocating for him. All the players were tweeting about Trent Bray. We played the video when he talked to everybody in front of the room and said,
fans wanted
yes, Bray. And then all of these guys ended up leaving anyways. And so I'm now at the point of like, well, was that even the right hire? Because the whole point of hiring him was to try and keep everything together, and it hasn't been kept together. There's not a lot of positive spins that you can put on the future right now.
I'm certainly not suggesting they're not hiring the best coaches. I think they deserve the time to prove it.
Of course they do.
But their entire staff is just like all Oregon State stuff.
That's what they're leaning into.
Yeah, and look, I get it. I do. It's people that dismiss Oregon State when they were really good with Jonathan the last couple years. Like I really don't think your brain is wrapped around the fact of winning there feels impossible. It really does. Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for bad years, but like when you're not heavily financially funded or backed,
yes,
it is such it's an up mountain climb. It's not an uphill climb. It's an up mountain climb.
You've never competed on the same level as Oregon, Washington, USC from a financial standpoint, and you never will.
And you never will, and you largely never will compete on a football field the way that those programs have at their top end competed. And that's okay to say out loud too, but it's a really dark situation, and I'm not being facetious when I say this. They're going to give this 2 years. We'll see where it's at. If they're basically Mountain West, I'm telling you, you need to lean into being a basketball and baseball school. It just is what it is. It's financially, it's cheaper, and you have more of a competing. Like everybody's like, what's going to happen to the baseball team? Who cares? They play the Mountain West. They play the Pac-12. They'll mix in some. Who cares? They're good. If they're good, they're going to get picked. They have a history, a legacy now.
Yeah.
They will not suffer from the conference, from Mountain West Pac-12. They won't suffer that fate. Football does. Basketball can win the Mountain West and go to a tournament and have a shot to win a couple games. Yeah. Maybe not with this current staff, but like they will. It's just an easier battle. Football is a much harder climb. So it's hard. I'm a little bit of the ledge right now.
Yeah, don't blame me at all,
because
man.
people are transferring out and we're painting this picture like it's still roses. And I'm like, a Colorado offensive lineman ain't making me feel better from a high school decommit and all these other guys that are in the portal right now.
Well, and I saw their NIL collective raise $1 million or $2 million, and then
$2 million.
Fans got frustrated because players were still leaving, and they're saying, well, where's this money going? And I think, one, you have to acknowledge this is probably way too late in the process. Like, this NIL collective should have been going 3 years ago. This has been the law of the land now for a while, that you can go out and buy players. But the other aspect is, for these elite level guys, like Dylan Gabriel's probably going to make $3 to $4 million next year at Oregon.
Yes.
That's one player. And you have raised $2 million for a roster. And it just shows you, I mean, you can try and pick and choose which guys you want here or there, but you're not going to be able to get top-end talented players. The other one that hurt was the guy who was connected to Oregon State, Taylon Green, the Boise State quarterback, ended up committing to Arkansas yesterday. And so that was one that he was high school teammates with Damian Martinez.
Martinez kind of insinuating.
You wanted him. That was one that was connected, and so that did not happen either.
I'm actually going to stick in the portal. Let's push the Blazers down. We can talk about that game. They almost beat the Clippers last night. Scoot had his best game of his career, which was funny given a comment that I had on Twitter earlier in the day. I want to stick in the portal. Do you ever think we'll be this level of fan? Next on The Fan.
Oregon. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. We got the mail sack at 8:15. So we got those mail sack questions into the Vancouver Ford text line. Getting to the Blazers, I have a wild theory and idea that I want to throw at you. I tried to catch up to the game. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm getting older, and so those 7:30 tips are hitting a little different. And I'd say I went to bed right at around 9:20.
Yep.
So I didn't catch the full game, but I woke up this morning, and I still didn't watch the full game because I forgot to fast forward through commercials as I was getting ready.
I made it to about 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
Okay.
That's about as far as I made it.
Swag watched the whole thing.
I finished the thing.
Yeah.
Swag's 52 and doesn't value sleep.
No, he does not.
It's an amazing feat, actually.
Yeah, well, I would suggest some sleep, but that's just me.
He's kind of a night owl. I figured out Swag is kind of a night owl.
I'm a huge night owl.
Yeah, I
am too.
Like if I didn't have this particular shift,
well, yeah. Now I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so
I
I'm no
would be
longer
up
a night
till,
owl.
I'd be up till midnight or 1
Oh yeah,
every
when we
night.
were noon to 3, I wouldn't go to bed until 2 o'clock in the morning most nights.
Boy, what a life.
Those the good old days, man.
Shout out this job, huh?
The good old days. Whose dumb idea was it to move to mornings?
Our boss.
Damn it!
Actually, yeah. I want to get to this. I do think Oregon Duck fans not far away from this. I don't know if they take this personal or not. I think most fan bases in the position would kind of morph into this eventually anyway. So there's a lot going on in the portal, right? We talked about a little bit about Colorado. They're having, they've got some success lately with some of the portal and recruiting stuff. Oregon State's going through it. I know Oregon's going to lose a couple players from the bowl game because they're going to the NFL.
Yep.
USC is trying to change who they are. We mentioned Arizona State yesterday. There was a Fong bomb, Steve Wiltfong, who dropped one of these. The number one player in the 2024 recruiting class is Dylan Raiola, who's out of the state of Georgia, and he is committed to Georgia. He wants to be a Bulldog, or so we thought.
Dun, dun, dun.
We've got a crystal ball prediction that the number one player who is committed to the number one program in college football is looking to maybe go to Nebraska and has been crystal balled to be a Cornhusker. This is massive news, right? Not to you and I. I personally actually still don't think this is that big a story. If I was a Nebraska fan, I'd be happy and then also just tell myself mentally he's leaving after 1 year because all of these kids are.
Well, the other one yesterday, too, was on the same day. Kyle McCord was also crystal ball to Nebraska. So they're trying to pull off the Dylan Gabriel, Dante Moore, essentially.
Yes.
Older veteran, younger guy, twofer.
Good luck to him. It sounds like it's going to happen. Georgia's 24/7 page, their message board.
The dogs, the dog pound.
I'm going to read this, and I'm just going to read. This is from a Georgia Bulldog fan who posted, "Does anyone here work at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport?" It's being reported that Raiola will visit Nebraska on Friday. I assume he'll take the 2:21 p.m. Delta flight, which is also the last flight of the day to the state. Therefore, if this flight gets canceled, he likely won't be able to make the trip and will stay committed to UGA. Obviously, messing with commercial flights is a slippery slope. So I'm not suggesting that anybody does anything illegal, but does anyone here work for Delta? If some loyal UGA pilots or flight attendants to call in sick at the last minute, the flight could be canceled and we could keep Raiola. Maybe someone working could hold the flight up for, quote, maintenance, end quote, issues. At the very least, he could, quote, lose his checked bags, end quote. So he'd have to experience the Nebraska winter without a jacket.
Hide all of his sweatshirts.
I'm just spitballing ideas, but if anyone has anything else, those seem like good starts.
I love the line in there. Obviously, messing with commercial travel is a bit of a slippery slope, but
we need this kid.
We need, dude, first off, just round of applause. Round of applause to the pure psychos that exist in America.
You might get arrested now, by the way.
You could get arrested. That's okay. It's worth it. Whatever it takes to get your team over the top. Back-to-back national championships ain't enough. Okay, damn it, get her done.
Saban stopped us this year. We can't have this happen again.
The funniest thing, I don't know when fans are going to learn about this. My school might benefit from this in the near future. Time will tell. Do people not realize that we are now in an era of college football where it is a Wild West free agency every offseason? So let me paint a picture for you here. Georgia doesn't get Dylan Raiola. He goes to Nebraska. That would be a massive get for Matt Rule in Nebraska.
It would.
The tie-in, for those who are wondering, his dad is on the staff at Nebraska. For those wondering, like, why Nebraska? This doesn't make any sense. He's a kid from Georgia. His dad is a coach on Matt Rule's staff. Did he hire him just to get Dylan? I don't know, but there's probably a decent percentage that's why he hired him.
Pulling a Wayne Tinkle?
Yes.
A Jalen Brunson?
You go get the kid, man. You got to get the coach's kid. So if he ends up flipping to Nebraska, that's a massive deal. Where do we put the odds that there's a chance this kid's in the portal in the next 2 years?
Minus 3,000.
A decent chance, right? And if he's going to enter the transfer portal, where's a likely destination he's probably going to go?
Georgia.
You never overreact to kids who decommit from your program. Dante Moore did this exact thing to Oregon. Now, he might not end up going to Oregon. Maybe I'm, smoking my own supply here. But it's going to be hilarious if a year ago, like quite literally a year ago, he decommitted. It was massive. He had the Christmas tree picture with Dan Lanning in Detroit. Every Oregon fan thought, this guy's going to be a top player in the country. And then at the last second on signing day, he signed with UCLA. And it was a stab in the back. It hurt, but you said, we'll see you down the road. And guess what happened a year later? He's in the portal, and he's visiting your school this week, which I love that he has to visit again. You just visited last year, but let's refresh our memory of how the campus looked, I guess. Don't ever criticize players for decommitting because there's a 97% chance they're going to transfer at some point in the next 2 years.
I think that's kind of my takeaway is like, I get that you're passionate. Your team's not in the playoff, and they probably should be. If you're talking about 4 best teams in college football, they should have a shot to three-peat. I think it's hilarious that people still post this stuff. And honestly, I'm not trying to Dion high step on this topic. This is why I'm telling you, I think the transfer portal is bigger than high school recruiting. How confident is any fan base really about a high school player committing to their program? Like, really? Dion's got these 2024 wide receiver and offensive lineman. I saw the kid on the 24/7 YouTube thing. Cool, man. Shador's not going to get sacked once. All right. And then Shador's gone next year. Guess who's probably going to be in the portal again? Because his services will be paid by 10 different programs if he has a good year at Colorado. This is kind of, I've morphed my thinking. I don't even know what the high school recruiting rankings are anymore, nor do I honestly care.
I mean, you could guess it. It's the same top 5 every year.
Sure. And there's once in a while a random one will be in there, like Mississippi was years ago with Hugh Freeze, or A&M when Jimbo, you basically paid for an entire recruiting class. And all of those guys are in the portal. And like, that's why I've been on this. Spare me with the high school recruiting rankings. I legitimately don't care. Let me guess. The best schools will end up keeping some of the best players out of the recruiting class, and the other portion of the talent will go into the portal and go make a ton of money at different programs. This is what it is now.
Yeah.
And so I get Georgia fan being caught off guard and surprised that Steve Wiltfong crystal balled this kid to go play for with his dad in Nebraska. But I'd also tell that fan, you're still Georgia. You're going to be okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And hey, Nebraska fan,
Yeah.
I'd enjoy that for the year, maybe 2 that you have it, because I'll be shocked if he's there for 3 years before he goes to the NFL.
For their sake, I hope he is. That's a fan base that's suffered for a very long time. They could use some good news. They haven't been to a bowl game since Mike Riley was there. It's been pretty dark. They're still selling out every game and acting like they care as much as they used to, but you're watching 5 and 7 teams every year. They can't score. You know how bad their passing offense was last year?
I mean, their whole offense
they were in
atrocious.
statistical categories with the service academies who don't throw the football.
No.
That's how bad their passing offense was as bad as Iowa's last year.
Yeah.
But because it's Iowa, we chuckle about it. Nebraska was that bad. It was year 1 under Rule. I will say, the only counter argument I have against you is I think I still prioritize it. I don't downplay it as much as you do high school recruiting, just because I think you have to be able to infill with your own talent.
Sure.
You have to be able to look at and say, we need 1 offensive lineman, not 4 offensive linemen. We need an edge rusher, not an entire defensive line. And then you can pick and choose which positions you want to go attack. So I still think it's important. The other thought I had yesterday, though, this is kind of what I love about NIL. In a non-NIL world, I highly doubt, and maybe the father-son thing is enough for Raiola and it would have flipped him, but we've seen some of these random 5-star kids go to Nebraska, go to Dante Moore last year to UCLA, and you're like, what? You want to go play for that team, really? In front of an empty stadium? But this is balancing things out in college football. And I think we're going into
giving us more parity for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the rich are getting richer, though. It's all going to be to the traditional blue blood schools. But some of these schools that have been down, Tennessee, Nebraska, Florida State, Michigan, some of these schools that haven't accomplished things in a long time are now back at the forefront of the sport. And I think NIL and the transfer portal are a big reason for it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think it's been it's wild and hard as a fan to go through all this, but like at the same time, you can't argue with the fact that the committee was left with what felt like an impossible decision on Selection Sunday, where they're having to sort all this stuff out and tell you, oh, the undefeated conference champion's not in our playoff. And it's like, what? But it was 8 teams deep this year.
If Florida State stays healthy, I think with Jordan Travis, I think you could have made an argument 7 or 8 teams had a legitimate shot, matchup-wise, where you play, when you play, that if they get the right matchup, they could have gone on a run, and that's the dream for the sport. You get to a 12-team playoff. It's not just 1 or 2 schools at the top that nobody can beat. It's a little more evened out, and you get a fun playoff every December.
You're still going to have certainly your Georgia Bamas.
Of course.
They're not going to go anywhere because, again, the rich stay rich. But you are going to get this, where maybe Matt Rule can turn Nebraska back into something.
Steal a kid here or there, and it takes them away from Georgia, and that's a big impact.
Exactly. That's all you need to do. We have a lot to get to. The mail sack at 8:15, some Blazer Clipper stuff, some more college and NFL football to talk about as well. Dirt and Sprague back with more. But first, Swag with the sports update.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at toropdx.com. First on The Fan, it was a double dose of Monday night drama in New Jersey. The legend of quarterback Tommy DeVito continues to grow. He led his hometown Giants on a game-winning field goal drive as time expires. They beat the Packers 24-22. It was a giant meltdown in Miami. The Dolphins were up 14 with 3 minutes to go, and they allowed Will Levis to take Tennessee down the field not once but twice for touchdowns, including 1 2-point conversion. They blow it 28-27. It's the Titans' first road win of the season and spoiled the chance for Miami to grab control of the number 1 seed in the AFC. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert meeting with hand specialists today for his broken finger. And if surgery is necessary, he is done for the rest of the regular season. Blazers missed Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Malcolm Brogdon Monday night in L.A. They got a combined 84 points from Scoot, Simons, and Sharp. It wasn't enough to take down the Clippers. They lose 132-127. Portland's back home Thursday to host the Jazz. More sports scores and stories, 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered straight to you. Follow the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger on the free Odyssey app or wherever. On 1080, The Fan.
Quick portal update, by the way. Riley Leonard officially going to Notre Dame. Cha-ching! I'll assume that would happen. That was like immediately he put his name in the portal. Everybody's like, this guy's going to be in South Bend next year. I don't know what took so long, but he is committed to Notre Dame today. So Riley Leonard, the Irish have their quarterback for 2024.
Did they pay him in gold bars?
I think so. Maybe 4-leaf clovers.
They when the odds came out, all these quarterbacks transferring. Remember, we mentioned Gabriel at the start was a -200 for Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Leonard's was -350 for Notre Dame. It was like an overwhelming. There's not even a controversy here.
That was one that I wish I could have bet on Gabriel.
Me too.
Those numbers came out. And I'm like, I mean, the Jeff Lebby tie was there. He was the OC. Now he's head coach down there at Mississippi State. But all the intel was pointing to this was a marriage that was going to happen between Gabriel and Oregon. I did want to. We're not going to have a ton of time here. We'll get back on the clock. I do want to get to the Blazers because they played another competitive loss last night, and everybody's feeling really good. So let's talk about them a little bit. You woke up this morning and watched the fourth quarter. To a listener's question, yes, we saw the Shaden Sharp crossover was fantastic. That was awesome.
He almost had a sick putback dunk too that he just went out of bounds. He couldn't quite grab it.
Just missed. I did want to just quickly mention for those who were not on social media yesterday or you haven't been listening to updates, Oregon lost a couple of guys to the NFL. None of them surprises, but Jackson Powers Johnson, who was named the Remington Trophy as the nation's top center of the year in college football, he is declared for the NFL draft, and then Bucky Irving also declaring for the NFL draft. No surprises. Those guys were assumed to be going. Kyrie Jackson, by the way, last week also announced. That was another non-surpriser. I think the only big guy we're still waiting on, well, Birch hasn't officially said yet, but people are speculating he might be back based on an Instagram post. And then Troy Franklin's the other one that we're all assuming he's gone, but
be gone.
He just hasn't announced yet, so we're all waiting to see.
Yeah, I think he's gone. Reading the tea leaves of the wide receiver situation, there's a lot of these guys will make a lot of sense next year to fill in the void that Franklin will leave. So, I mean, if he comes back, you're through the moon.
Oh, you're winning the lottery if he's back.
I mean, maybe he'll get, wherever he would be picked. I don't know where he'd fall in the wide receiver draft eligible guys, maybe in the top 5 or 6 or 7, whatever that is.
That's the only question I would have is because this is a really deep wide receiver class.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be one of the first 3, I would say, because I would imagine Harrison's going to be number 1. Odunze will be ahead of him. Malik Neighbors, probably another one. So, I don't know.
5, 6, something like that.
And I don't know what
Worthy for Texas, I would imagine, is in this as well.
Could be. I don't know what the receiver class looks like next year. That could be the argument if he does come back or if you try to entice him to come back. I just don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
There was, I'm blanking the player's name. I should have wrote this on my show sheet. There was a player's name at a big school as a big-time player, and I'm just blanking right now. But I read basically there's intel that the university he plays for might comp him equivalent to what the NFL would pay him.
Well, that's the Marvin Harrison rumor that's been out there.
That's what it is, yeah.
But it's not. There's no chance that happens.
I don't believe it either.
No chance in hell.
But that's what the NIL is doing. It's making people think realistically out loud they can pay a guy $20 million.
Yeah.
Because that's probably what he gets paid when he's somewhere in that 5-6 range.
He'll be a top 7 pick in the draft.
Well, because you go look, I looked up earlier, highest paid backups in the NFL. Do you know who's second on that list?
The second highest paid backup in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do. I would guess that Mike White in Miami's near the top, is he not?
It's Trey Lance.
Oh, yeah.
It's Zach Wilson's number 1. $35 million, $34 million. Those are 1-2 picks.
Touché, because they were top picks.
Yeah, those. That's kind of the market for that. So, no, I don't think he's going to make that, but I saw that floated. I'm like, really? We're paying $15 million for a guy who can't beat Michigan?
Right. Well, C.J. Stroud said the same thing last year. He said, I seriously considered coming back because they lost to Michigan. And everybody oh, my God, he almost came back. It's like, dude, you're not. No, you're not, because you're delaying a guaranteed rookie contract. You're delaying the age in which you can then hit the open market and renegotiate that deal and start making crazy wide receiver money in the NFL. Financially, yes, it's crazy that college teams could potentially pay that much. It would be a horrific financial decision for him to decide that. For some of these guys, it makes sense because you're trying to improve your stock or you're going to be a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick. It's not as much guaranteed money. Marvin Harrison Jr. will be a top 10 pick and will make a crazy amount of guaranteed money.
It's a gamble for sure, but Penix and Nix didn't cost themselves anything this year by doing that. And that was a little bit of a surprise, I think, from both fronts.
They both improved their draft stock, which doesn't always happen.
No, they stayed relatively healthy. Penix denies that he was ever really hurt, and so, okay, I'll take him at his word. Both stayed healthy. Both had fantastic seasons, ended up in New York, and may have helped their draft stock with that. So it's an ever-evolving landscape, the whole portal NIL world. But realistically, some of that stuff, it's not going to get as out of hand as people make it sound.
Yeah. Kyrie Jackson only there for a year, so I don't have a lot on him. Bucky Irving, ton of fun to watch, man. He was awesome.
Weird end of the year.
Weird end of the year in the Pac-12 title game. I have an inclination that he was banged up, and I don't know why they didn't get him out of the game. It sucks that you have moments like that kind of put a cloud over what he accomplished for 2 seasons and having back-to-back 1,000-yard years. I will say this from being down there at the media day in August. Jackson Powers Johnson is one of my favorite Ducks of all time. That guy's awesome. His family's great. He's been a Duck through and through. He committed long ago before, the Mario Cristobal era. He's been around for a while. So
back-to-back great centers for Oregon.
Really good. Yeah, back-to-back great centers.
Forsythe and now Johnson. I want to throw at you because I know you want to get to Blazers. Cam Ward visiting Miami, and that might be the last visit.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Or
don't do it.
I'm just going to throw this at you. I actually don't think that offense is as boring as Mario seemed at Oregon, and he's got some horses, man. He is recruiting.
Sure.
He is recruiting.
Tyler Van Dyke was thought of as a first-round NFL draft pick when he arrived on campus. Where's Tyler Van Dyke now?
Who knows?
He's in the transfer portal, finding a new home to get a starting job back.
Yeah,
I'm just if all the big time programs, you're not wrong. They got talent. I want nothing to do with that guy coaching quarterbacks.
Bring the U back. I don't know.
Sure, have fun with that, Cam Ward. We'll remember that one. But yeah, he is visiting Miami this weekend, or this week, I should say. Let's get to the baby Blazers. Another entertaining loss last night. Is our optimism turning a corner? Are we there, Blazer fans? That's next on the Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
Just, you got to make a shot in the NBA. You can't shoot 5 for 41 from 3. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's Greg Popovich. The Spurs have lost 17 straight games last night to the Houston Rockets.
I also saw a play. It looked like Wembanyama's ankle was made out of spaghetti noodles. That didn't look very good.
No, it's not going well in San Antonio.
Is he having a good year, though?
He's having a good year, but they're an awful
team. They
suck,
yeah.
Who's stinking it up? Greg Popovich and the Spurs, brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com.
Hey everybody, Sprague here. This time of year is full of gatherings with family and friends, whether it's hosting a holiday
Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
Oh, I got fired.
That's actually what they would be if you got fired right after the show.
On 1080 The
Sprague
Fan.
on 1080 The Fan.
It wouldn't even make new liners. We just go in and cut my name out of the old ones. Welcome to the Sprague Show.
Our listeners are like, damn it, the wrong guy got fired.
I wanted to respond to something quickly on the YouTube chat, then I promise you we'll get to the baby Blazers.
Yeah.
Joel asked on YouTube, Dirt, do you think these kids are thinking about anything other than money? Cam Ward will go to Miami if they offer the most money and nothing else matters. Well, one, I don't disagree with necessarily with the premise. I also, like, we always do this whenever somebody signs, we act as if that was the only school that spends or offers money. Like, everybody is spending and offering money in name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal. At least if you're a big-time player, right? Of the elite schools in college football, everybody's throwing money around like crazy. So Cam Ward's going to visit Miami. He's going to visit Florida State. Do we think Miami's offering him money and Florida State's not? Like, of course that's not the case. And I don't know what's most important to all these guys. For some of them, it might just be money. Let me go get the top dollar. But for some of them, it might be, I want a chance to play in this situation, or I want to go to a proven spot. Like, if Miami's offers him 2.7 and Florida State offers him 2.5, is that enough for Miami to win the battle? So everybody is offering money. Everybody is throwing money around. I don't know if that's the only end-all, be-all deciding factor for every single kid. That would be my retort to that.
I think they're hitting the market to see.
Yeah, you go around, you visit campuses. What do you get to offer? What do you have? What's your
right
facilities look like? What kind of offense are you running? It's a recruiting trip that you get a paycheck at the end of it.
Spates last year leaving Oregon State, I'm sure he got paid more at LSU to be the linebacker, and also it lined up with, hey, maybe I can help my draft stock by being a good linebacker at LSU.
He also said, I want to have a chance to win a national championship. Yeah. LSU clearly didn't do that this year, but the thought at the time, going into the year, they were in the SEC title last year, and he thought, all right, I'm going to go have a chance to win at the highest level. But money unquestionably is a major, major factor. I just don't know if it's the deciding factor for every single kid, because we're all built different. We all have different motivators. The baby Blazers are turning a corner, Brandon Sprague. I'm sensing the traffic on Twitter.com.
Ah, yes.
There's a lot of optimism that is building. And last night, look, I'll give them credit. Last night was fun. They're playing some fun ball right now, and they had all three young guards. Scoot had a career high. Ant went off. Shaden, I think, over his last 5 games is averaging like 26, 5, and 5 ballparking, but it's somewhere in that range. Another close loss, so it's perfect. They play great, entertaining, close loss. Optimism building for Brandon Sprague?
I mean, my stance hasn't really changed. I'm still not completely over the fact that this franchise kind of misled and then just pivoted a different direction into the youth rebuild. But there are absolutely joys watching some of these guys play basketball. And it's not always just the biggest names. Like, Scoot had a great night last night, a career night.
Yes, he did. Good for him.
Which was funny because I got into a back and forth with a couple people on Twitter of just like, he's comping more to Sebastian Telfair statistically from 3 than he is a Jason Kidd.
We were going to do a segment on him and his inability to shoot today, and then he went out and went 3 of 4 from 3 of 8 of 16 from the floor.
But I would fade the living hell out of the under on whatever their next game is going to be, because I don't think he'll be able to shoot quite the same. I've also enjoyed the stories of Tamani Kamara. Duop Reith has had some moments for them this year, and I know those aren't names that take everybody away. Jabari, I thought, has had a good year. Look, here's where I kind of stand with this. It's nice to have competitive basketball, and then, yes, we're leaning into the tank in terms of wanting draft assets. You might have 2 lottery picks this year.
Good.
Golden State's pick, top 4 protected, and your own. I'm going to throw this at you, and you might think I'm insane, so feel free to throw it right back. Their record's not going to indicate it, but I've watched all but 1 game this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in seemingly every game. Seemingly. And I just want to say, should we be looking at more of trading draft capital to try to win next year? No, bear with me here.
Flipping this. Look at that.
Bear with me here. Everybody's canning the draft.
Yeah.
You can hear it left and right. And I'm telling you, by draft time, everybody's tune's going to change on 3 or 4 players. Well, actually, he played pretty well on the back end of that college schedule. Yeah. It happens. It's like clockwork now.
Yes, it is.
It's such an international game that, to me, it's a little irresponsible to just say a draft sucks right now. That being said, if it does end up sucking near draft time, what are you drafting for? You're not going to get the number 1 pick.
I mean, we're going to draft another guard. We need another one.
Right. So if you have Ant, Shea, Tamani Kamara to build off of, like, you've got role guys. I'm not telling you Tamani and Jabari are studs, but they're good role players. You're playing better defense, even though you did give up 132.
Mm-hmm.
You press more than anybody else. We learned that on the broadcast last night. I'm just saying, like, your record's not going to be great, but everybody's canning the draft. Let's speed this up. Who wants to suck for 3 years? Not me. Do you want to cover a team that sucks for 3 years?
I mean, we're not really covering them as is because
right.
they suck.
Cooper Flag. Oh, okay. Good luck to you getting Cooper Flag. There's like 9 inept franchises that exist ahead of you right now.
Yeah, Detroit hasn't won a game in 4 years.
So thank you. So, like, let's stop talking about a draft that's in 2 years. Let's ramp this thing up. If you're almost winning games with this, why can you not trade draft capital, get some young player that's pretty good out of a bad situation, and try to win again? The one thing I'll give Neil, the one thing, it's at least better making the playoffs and having some relevancy than being this, where nobody's talking about you outside of the bubble.
Yeah, there's a small Blazer bubble that is very encapsulated in everything that's going on, and I think a lot of people who aren't in that bubble are just kind of like, check in, check out. Oh, look at that, they're playing tonight. Like, you're not following it day in and day out.
I see the attendance, man. There's scattered seats everywhere.
Yes,
so, like, I
is.
know Twitter seems like everybody's following this game in and game out. The reality is it's not. They're not. They're 6-16.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to, they're still not good. They're playing entertaining and they're losing close games. Here are I just pulled up a random CBS mock draft. I don't know any of these guys, so I'm going to mispronounce some of the names probably. Here are your projected top 5 picks according to CBS Sports. Isaiah Collier, am I saying that right, of USC.
Okay.
It's a 6'5", 210 kind of wing guard kind of player. Justin Edwards, a guard from Kentucky, 6'8", 203.
Is he a white guy?
No clue. There's not a picture.
They got a white shooter on Kentucky. It's pretty good.
Ron Holland. It's a great name. He's a 6'6" guard from the Ignite G League team.
Played at Duncanville at the LSI last year. They won the tournament.
Yes,
Alex Sarr, a center from
Arizona.
From France.
Oh, wait. No, he's not the Arizona kid.
I don't know. I'm taking your word for it.
I think there's an Arizona kid.
It says France here. Stefan Castle, who is a guard from Connecticut, a freshman guard from Connecticut. So that's your projected top 5. I want to pick up where you left off. I also, if we're going down that road, as fun as last night was, there's like a mental block that I can't get over that I'm wondering if other fans care about. Do they not care about? It'll get settled. Don't worry about it. I have a mental blockade with this team.
Well, there's a looming thing
that I need help processing. And so I want to start there in the final hour. We'll get to a couple other football notes as well. Don't forget the mail sack coming up at 8:15. Your questions are welcome on YouTube at the live chat, or you can send them into the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Is live on the Odyssey app is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland 1080 The Fan.
The algorithm we're using is not perfect.
An Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan. So much drama on Monday night with the doubleheader in New Jersey. Tommy DeVito's legend continues to grow. He took his hometown Giants down the field for the game-winning field goal as time expired to beat the Packers 24-22. Meanwhile, in Miami, the Dolphins got 2 gift fumbles from the Titans in the fourth quarter to take a 14-point lead with 3 minutes to go, and they blew it. 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion from Will Levis. His Tennessee crew gets the 28-27 upset win, their first road victory of the season, and spoils the chance for Miami to grab control of the number 1 seed in the AFC. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert could be done for the year. He's meeting with a hand specialist today on his broken finger on his throwing hand to see if surgery is required. Shohei Ohtani officially signed his 10-year contract with the Dodgers Monday. Details coming out reveal the record deal will defer $680 of the $700 million for some 10 years. Blazers missing Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Malcolm Brogdon, but they still got 84 points from Scoot, Simons, and Sharp, just coming up short, losing to the Clippers 132-127. They're back home Thursday night to face the Jazz. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand.
And, you know, how do you enjoy prosperity? Well, you do all the stuff that got you there in the first place.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
All the little things, you know, it's not some deal where I'll get in trouble for this, I'm certain, but
Andy Dirt Johnson.
Where you know, instead of playing hard and getting a first down and getting a play, then, you know, you want to sit behind a shade tree, eat a fish sandwich, and drink a lemonade with your fat little girlfriend.
And Brendan Sprague.
I'm working on this trademark cough. What do you think? It's getting better, too. Well, then, we marched it downfield.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app. R.I.P. to the great Mike Leach. 1 year ago today, he passed away.
We missed him this year. He would have been a lot of fun to listen talk about this playoff situation. Mississippi State probably would have been better.
Conference realignment. He would have been so good on all that.
I mean, imagine him on Washington State being left out of the conference realignment conversation. That is one that I wish old Universe would give us. Like a snip, wherever he's floating right now in space dust.
Yes, I want that answer.
Let him just like formulate back to human, like, let me tell you what I think. Like, yes, give it to me.
Come on, mate. We're live as always on YouTube this morning. Thanks everybody for watching. The comment section is a cesspool as always, and we love you all for arguing about meaningless things. This is what we love about this job.
I do like looking down from time to time, Dirt, and seeing the conversations. They're a lot of fun.
It takes a whole lefts and right turns, man. It's great. We'll get to a legendary broadcaster may or maybe not getting turfed at some point in the final hour. I find that story fascinating. Let's keep on the Blazers, though. Mail sack, by the way, coming up in 10 minutes. Get your questions in. We'll answer them. Sports, non-sports, whatever. Fire them away. We'll answer them. You would ask if this is the time now, looking at the way the young team is playing and being competitive. 6-16 is the record, but you would argue they're close in some of these games. That, hey, like just going the full total tank, the Santa Claus style, is maybe not the right move over the next 2 years because you have assets. As you point out, you're likely going to have 2 lottery picks. Not likely, but there's a good chance you could have 2 lottery picks this upcoming summer. And is that the move that you should make? I have a mental block with this team that every time I watch them, I just have a hard time getting over. And I don't know if other fans are there, if it's like we're mentally kicking the can down the road, and it's like, we'll figure it out when we figure it out kind of thing. I do that a lot in life, so I don't blame anybody for doing that. But going back to the draft, I remember the first thought that I had was, this is cool, Scoot, whatever. Like, they should have traded the pick, but whatever. Let's draft Scoot, and he looks like a fun kid. We're doing the 3-guard thing again.
We are.
And it just, Ant is back now.
Mm-hmm.
We'd kind of forgotten about it for a while because he was out, and you had Scoot and Shaden. Well, Scoot was out too. Shaden was kind of going off, and you thought, all right, now Ant's back. Ant's playing great. He had a great game last night, 38 points, very efficient on 23 shots. Shaden is playing out of his mind over the last week and a half or so, playing at a really high level. He's having a really good second season. And then here you have Scoot, who's had a really rough rookie year, but had a great game last night. And I can't get over the fact that at some point you have to make a decision, right? At some point, this has to be, like, you drafted a guy number 3 overall. He's playing 30 minutes. Like, let him take his shots, whatever. I don't care how bad his shooting is.
Sat out in the fourth quarter, weirdly.
But
best game of his life.
These are the kind of things that I'm like, isn't that a good development chance for your number 3 overall pick to get to learn how to play and close out games? And, like, isn't that the whole point of this season, is to develop him in moments like that? But you can't, because you're not going to take Ant off the floor. You're not going to take Shaden off the floor. And so you're either playing 3 guards or Scoot's the odd man out, and I'm having a really hard time with that.
Well, I think a lot of people, including the ones that work for the team, would probably tell you we're getting ahead of a topic that's down the road. It's not even necessarily a thing for them yet. I put a poll question long term. Is there an odd man out in Portland between Ant, Shaden, and Scoot? Yes, Ant. Yes, Scoot. Yes, Shaden. No, keeping all 3, baby. And it's not a surprise that the second leading one is no, keeping all 3. We are conditioned for this, man. When you talk about Trailblazer basketball history, people I know you laugh. I know Swag doesn't necessarily agree either, but like, people put the Dame CJ thing at the very top. It's near the conversation of very top. Now, I don't view it that way. There were some fun moments, sure, but it always felt like the thing holding us back was our inability to get out of the situation that could have maybe improved the health of the organization.
To make a tough decision.
Maybe Ant will ask out, and this will be kind of a moot point. But if he doesn't, he's happy being here, getting the points, getting the accolades on a team that's not very competitive in a win-loss perspective. I don't know what they do here. I'm still going to throw out, I think it's a looming thing that if Ant doesn't ask out and Shaden wants to stay, they're going to squeeze one of them. You have to. You cannot tell me in good faith that you're running 3 of your 5 starters with those guys. It just, to me, I don't see it, and maybe Joe is third eye seeing it. Scoot can't shoot, right? Well, let's put him with Ant and Shaden. They can shoot, and he can get assists. Okay. I still think you're a big liability defensively when you don't have a Matisse and a Tamani on the court. So I don't know what their vision would be there. I think it'd be Scoot and Shaden, but again, I think organizationally, Joe's been here since before Dame. I think it's really hard for them to look at Ant doing what he's doing and going, yeah, we're just going to trade this. Right now, they're the 4th worst team in the league. They're tied with Memphis with the 4th worst record. I just sim-lotteried it. You'd get the 4th pick according to this, and this says you draft some kid from the G League, Mattis Blazelis. I don't think I'm saying his name right, but he's a 6'11 small forward. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's good, but also
it'll take a year or 2 for him to figure it out. Scoot's a prime example of that this year.
If you look at who they've been competitive against, they've played tough games against Cleveland. They obviously last night they gave the Clippers all they can handle. They've given Golden State runs. They should have won that game. They fought back hard against Dallas the other night. They've had really close competitive losses that make me wonder, could you speed something up here by trading a pick? But they also could be an absolute young youth roster management acquisitions, as Joe highlights, rookie roster salary spots in multiple press conferences.
And somebody's asking, why do you need to make a decision on one of the 3 right now? None of them are all-stars at the moment. Let's just roll with it. And I understand that opinion. I do.
We're not talking about
I'm not saying
now.
Trade one right now.
No.
And you had mentioned that, if you ask this question to somebody in the organization, they will tell you you're getting ahead of yourself. Mm-hmm. And we don't need to make that decision right now. And they would not be wrong. I also am just coming off an era in which, if some fans want to put it there, that's fine. One of the things that held that era back was not making this exact decision. that you had two undersized guards who could not win at a high level together because they couldn't play a lick of defense. And they were a fun story. They'd go off offensively from time to time. You had the one magical run that came out of nowhere to a Western Conference Finals, and you got swept by Golden State, who didn't even have their best player on the floor because Kevin Durant missed that entire series. And we didn't make that decision until it was too late. Like that, this is where I'm coming from looking at it and saying, I agree, you don't need to make the move now. Do we have trust that they're going to? And that's where I still struggle with the mental blockade. I'm not saying you got to trade Scoot Henderson right now, but there are times that I'm watching games like last night saying, wouldn't it behoove him to be on the floor in the fourth quarter getting some of these reps, whether it means you're worse or not? Like, isn't that the whole point of trading Dame, drafting a guy number 3 overall, is to play him and let him learn and figure out what you got? And, you know, it's going to take time for him to get there. That has been clearly evident. He had a really good game last night. He's having an awful rookie season.
That was his best game of his career.
He had 19. Yeah. That was great to see, and I hope there's more of those. I'm rooting like hell for Scoot Henderson, man. He seems like a great kid. The goggles are cool. The afro's awesome. I love the kid. He's having a terrible rookie year. More playing time, in my opinion. Maybe I'm an idiot, but that would help. He's going to be out on the floor. You're going to learn from mistakes. And then you look in key moments of games, he's on the bench because he's the third guy out. And I don't blame them for having him be the third guy out. He's not better than Ant. He's not better than Shaden. Those guys should be on the floor. This is the problem that is getting created, though, of having 3 guards again.
You know, I think the other part of this, too, is it's easy to say, well, they're not going to make those moves yet. So what's the point? And I totally acknowledge that. But, like, also at the same time, you're really going to go through 2 tanks? You want to go through 3? It's December. They're 6-16. The season doesn't end until like late March, early April. That is a long time from now. And you're talking about doing this again next year because you might get the sweepstakes to white Kevin Garnett. But what happens when you don't? And then you're like, well, what about that guy in the international game?
I mean, we just went through this with Wembanyama. We were a ping pong ball away from Victor Wembanyama.
And you took Scoot, which is, okay, you took what you thought was the best player available, and by many was. But you also didn't trade 7, and that was Shaden. And I love Shaden, baby Kobe. His numbers are a little ahead of Kobe in a lot of ways at this point of their careers. But I've always maintained the opinion, the city is not built for this. This has been our one-trick pony almost all our sports lives. Some of us have the Timbers now, but also some of us don't. So when college football is over and you're not the biggest NFL fan, this, for a lot of people, is what they turn to. Well, this is 6-16. And you're telling me, well, stop thinking about the future. I'm sorry, I have to. Because I would imagine Root Sports TV ratings have been awful.
Somebody's texting in, I don't know where the source is coming from, but saying the numbers are half of what they were last
year.
Sure,
I don't know if I believe it, but like I just will out of like, yeah, I can see it in my own personal life that people are not as interested. I can tell you I've had games where I'm like, oh, God. Utah-Portland, round 3, let's do it again. Yay. You go 2-3 years, man, you lose fan bases and you become a loser organization. I know they're losing right now, and I know it doesn't look like they can win. But, Dirt, they've been in a lot of these games.
They have.
And they play a style of basketball that's fun, it's entertaining, and I know 132 doesn't show it, but largely they've given a damn on defense.
They just had a bad opening quarter.
They've also been banged to living hell with their starters being out. They didn't have Grant, Brogdon, or Ayton last night. They're playing Duop Reith heavy minutes. They're playing Jabari, good amount of minutes. They're playing Scoot heavy minutes because they have to. I just think, look at this year, where you land in the draft. You might get a Golden State pick. I'm going to get out front now. I'm not opposed to them trading to try to win even more next year. I don't want to go through a 3-year tank. It's not fun. And I'm telling you now, people aren't enjoying this. Give it another year and a half and see how they feel about it.
Somebody's asking how long, when do you think they should make the decision, Dirt? How long would you give it? I'm not saying you need to trade him now. I'm not saying you need to trade him by the deadline. If you still have all 3 guards on your lineup going into next, opening day.
Well, a player or a team might make that decision for you, unfortunately. It could go into the summer and say, we suck. I don't want out. Yeah, I'm good.
But here's the other thing. If you're asking when I would want the decision by, I don't want all 3 of these guys on the roster next year. Here's the complicated part of all of this, though. And it's ironic because we were going to do a segment on it today, and he had the best game of his career, and so kudos to Scoot for doing that. A lot of people are texting in, let Ant run up his numbers this year. He went for 38 last night. He's playing high level. Like, he's back to being Ant. We know he can score.
He saved him on so many possessions, just getting the grenade in his hand with 5 seconds and getting that shot.
Yes. If he continues this, his stock is unquestionably going to rise. I will then ask the question, is that the guy you want to trade?
That's what I'm saying. It's an uncomfortable topic because you can
This is why I'm bringing it up.
You can think Scoot is all of this and that, and he might be. He might live up to the billing. It's also
Ant's a proven commodity at this point.
He can score at an elite level, which is not an asset that every player is given. There's also a real shot that Scoot's best ceiling in his career is Mike Conley, which isn't awful, by the way.
No.
We need to stop acting like if you're sub Jason Kidd,
yeah, you don't have to be an
you're
MVP.
some terrible player. That's not the case whatsoever. So it's a really hard spot to be in. Obviously, to some, we're looking way ahead of this. Like somebody tweeted, Anna's traded in a year or two. Okay. Scoot better be able to shoot the basketball. It's hard to win in this league.
I said that about CJ for 4 straight years. We just got swept by the Pelicans.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to trade CJ this offseason.
And they made no changes whatsoever. It is very hard to win in this league when your point guard can't shoot.
Yes.
Like Russell Westbrook's the premier example of what you can win with in the league, which was very high at one point, but also had Kevin Durant next to him, which helped a lot.
That helps a little bit. I know we're getting ahead of it. The team's they're playing an entertaining brand of basketball. That's all you can ask for right now as a fan. I'm not asking for guys to get traded. It's something every time I turn the game on, it's just in the back of my mind rattling around of like, one, when are they going to make the decision? And two, do I trust them to get the decision right? Because there's just not a lot of trust with the organization right now for a multitude of reasons.
I think you could look at the Western landscape. Final thing on this for me. You could look at the Western landscape and you can say, Minnesota, having a great year, right? OKC is young, they're there. Dallas, what's their 3-year plan? With Kyrie, I don't know. Denver will be there. The Kings may be there, but they may need to move Sabonis. The Lakers are old. The Rockets, you trust in the Rockets right now? The Clippers, I watched them last night. No, thank you. Phoenix is kind of old with the KD thing, and Beal can't stay healthy. The Pelicans have underwhelmed with Zion. Golden State. Like, it's not a dumb idea in my mind to say maybe we can actually jump further ahead of this rebuild than many thought we would.
Interesting. All right, let's get to the mail sack. Your questions welcome. YouTube, Vancouver Ford text line. We will answer them coming up next on The Fan.
It's the Vancouver Ford text line.
What's your one thing?
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Felt good to talk some Blazers there for a bit. I will just say this to the people who were in the bubble. It's hard to understand that there's a world that exists that is outside the bubble.
Yeah, you get on Twitter and you would think the entire city is tuned in.
This
to
is
every
all we
Blazer.
want to talk
Yeah,
about, and
right.
everybody is tied. Like, that's not the case.
No.
Every time we talk Blazers, there is a pushback immediately of like, dude, like I'm not watching. I don't care. When Jody sells, I'll follow again. Like, that exists out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard because we all get into our own little bubbles and we think this is all the world cares about, but it just is not the case. So I want to point that out to the folks who were in the bubble breathing the air. I'm happy for you. Do whatever you want to do as a sports fan. Yeah. The television ratings are down this year, and there's a reason for that. A lot of folks have just checked out on this team.
Yeah, one of our listeners says most likely scenario: Portland gets 2 lottery picks, bundle them up, move up, and try and get Sarr. And that could be the right move. And then what we're doing? We're playing Ayton and Sarr together. We're doing the Sarr's our backup center for 2-3 years, and then we trade DeAndre. It's just like another Scoot Ant thing. You know what I mean?
All right, let's get to the mail sack, shall we?
Yes.
Here we go. Mail sack time. Mail sack question. Why do you guys care so much about college football and spend so much time talking about it when it's clearly slanted if you would rather than use the term rigged towards the SEC? Is it because Portland only has one major league team and it isn't the NFL? I don't mean this as being critical, more out of a curiosity.
That's a great question and a fair question. We do talk a ton of college. I go home, I'm not kidding when I say this, every single day I think about the show, and I'll assess in my own mind if I thought it was a good show or not. And then I almost always go home and I just think, we're not doing nearly enough NFL because everybody watches the NFL.
They do.
Almost everybody is kind of gambling in some ways on the NFL, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is the Ducks are a top 10 college football program. Washington now is become a top 10 college program.
They're playing for a national championship.
Oregon State started to become a 10-win team, and Washington State was always a fun story. We love college football, and you know, I don't know what to say. We know the SEC runs the league, the sport, but that doesn't make it less interesting. It's the second most popular sport in America. You can argue with a wall if you want. The ratings tell us that more people watch college football than watch the NBA and Major League Baseball, certainly more than hockey, and not even close in the same universe as Timber soccer. So that is why. It's the second most popular sport in America.
Well, and I think you could use the championship argument or, not having the SEC, it's all slanted towards them. You could use that argument in every sport, right? Like, why don't you talk more Blazers? Well, the Blazers haven't sniffed a championship since I was 11 years old. They haven't been anywhere close to a championship in a very long time.
The closest they've been, actually, you were just born.
Yes, but 2000 would have been the last time in Game 7 of the conference finals. And I was 11 years old when that happened. And so you can use that with different sports. I would say for me personally, I love college football. That's a big part of it. But I also think when we do segments and we get certain interaction, there's not a quantifiable thing there, but people are passionate about that sport. And there are rivalries that are baked in. And we'll see how that evolves and changes in the years to come with conference realignment happening. But it just, there's a passionate energy about that, and it's kind of a wild roller coaster ride for 12 weeks, and then it's gone like that. So there's a feeling that all we talk about is college football. Dude, the season goes from September to the first week of December, and then it's kind of it.
Yeah.
And now we've already moved on. We're doing more NFL. We're occasional portal stuff with roster acquisition, but I think fans are as passionate about that, if not more, than any other sport. NFL's tough because you can't. Where's our number one fandoms as listeners?
Yeah,
right? Like that's the hard part. We can do Seahawk talk. You do Seahawk talk. People say we don't care at Seattle.
I think some of that is true. I don't think there's as many Seahawk fans in the city as people pretend there are.
You just can't curtail content to fan bases with the NFL like you can with college. That's a difficult part of it. On a scale of Dirt's future baby to Swag's age, how childish does the YouTube chat get on a daily basis?
Oh,
so what's that? 0 to
52?
I'd say 37.
Yeah, somewhere a good sweet spot.
37.
I was going to say 29. That's so sure.
I'll go 37. Mail sack, putting aside the opt-outs and such, would you rather be Oregon, who drew the better bowl but less interesting game, or would you rather be Oregon State, who drew the disappointing location but landed a more interesting on-field matchup? to that note also, does there need to be some kind of salary cap on college football or something to even the playing field?
Well, they're certainly trying to get at something like that, I think, with NIL portal stuff. There are schools that have done studies on that NCAA proposal that we didn't talk about that have said, like, they'd have to spend $9 million a year to be a part of that collective. And people were like, yeah, I mean, isn't that less than what you pay to fire a coach and then get a couple players?
Right.
So it may be worth it. I think if you were to take record and all of it away, you're just about the matchup, I think Oregon State definitely is more interesting because if Notre Dame loses that game, their fans may want Marcus Freeman fired even though it's backup versus backup. Whereas I had a buddy tell me that he heard it. I heard somebody say once that teams that lose the Pac-12 title game don't win the bowl game. They're 0-11. And I'm like, if you want to take liberty in a bet with me and I get Oregon, I'd gladly do that. I think Oregon's going to trounce the Fighting Falwells. I don't care who plays.
I think.
I mean, you take the Fiesta Bowl anytime. The Golden Domers is fun. I've always dreamed of Oregon playing the Golden Domers. You know how I have an affinity for Notre Dame. They're playing with half
but with
of
so
a
many
roster.
people backing out, I don't.
Sam Hartman's not
Neither
playing.
one is
good players
appealing
are out.
with backup quarterbacks and all the guys
You're
either
in El
sitting,
Paso.
going to the draft, transfer portal.
Given their circumstance, I think Corvallis is throwing a parade if they beat Notre Dame.
Sure, why not?
We're celebrating that. Whereas like Oregon beats Liberty, it's going to be like, hey.
I mean, the
Oregon won by
university
20.
will make a big deal out of it.
Sure.
The fans will be like, yeah, whatever, you should win. What time is the El Paso Bowl? Isn't it an early game on New Year's Day?
It's 11 a.m. on Friday the 29th.
Friday the 29th, 11 a.m. God, my team's playing at 10 a.m., so, that's cool. Who doesn't want to wake up at 10 a.m., watch a big bowl game? Let's see here. What else we got? Millsack question for Dirt. Are you planning to take a tug of the wife's breast milk once little smudge arrives? It's got a ton of protein, vitamins, and antioxidants.
You got to try it.
Oh, I'm definitely drinking some breast milk.
It's
happening.
And not a lot of taste to it, I found. It was just kind of like weird to drink it. But I drank my mom's breast milk, so it shouldn't be that odd.
Okay. Millsack question. Will Kalen DeBoer be the coach of Washington 4 years from now? If not, what level of program do you think will land him?
No, I think he'll be at a bigger program.
Oh, okay. Look at that. You think he's leaving?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what his number is on that contract extension this offseason.
Should be at the Harbaugh level.
It should be massive.
To be honest with you.
We got him to the playoff.
4 wins 2 years ago, and they're in the playoff this year and have a shot to win the national championship.
Yeah.
If Harbaugh's getting 11.5, he shouldn't be far behind, if not at that.
I think it'll be curious to see how competitive in the Big Ten Oregon and Washington are right out of the chute because that'll determine, okay, how many more better, bigger programs are there for Kalen DeBoer to get to if Washington and Oregon quickly ascend right into Ohio State, Michigan territory, like everybody else, they start to handle pretty quick. And that leaves Alabama, LSU, Georgia.
I disagree with what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I disagree with it. Georgia and LSU, you can be competing with them in playoff games for 3 straight years. It's a little easier there. It just always will be.
Yes. Well, I understand that, but I'm saying I don't know how many more, are there going to be, how many openings would there actually be for him to make a jump to what's considered a bigger program in 3 years if Oregon and Washington come in and start knocking heads in the Big Ten?
Can I ask this question? This will be viewed very biasedly, but I view this about my coaches as well because I don't. Has Dan Lanning got another extension yet? He'll probably get
another one.
Offseason.
He got one last year.
He did because Auburn started sniffing around, and it's going to happen every year. There is a part of me though that looks at these guys. They have both been head coaches at their current institutions for 2 years and wonders, should you go? I mean, is that the right move?
We've already talked. We agree on this. We all agree on this. If your situation is DeBoer Lanning, I would stay. I'd be a god forever, and I would run that thing until you can't pay me anymore. I'm just saying, what if Brian Kelly doesn't make the playoff next year?
Yeah, and LSU's looking. What if Notre Dame and Freeman falter with Riley Leonard?
I don't know if you leave UW for Notre Dame. Maybe you do because of the legacy. But if LSU calls Kalen DeBoer, how are you not?
Well, the analogy I was more using too is that we've seen a lot of guys who have had really good starts and gotten massive extensions, and then we look back on them and you're like, oh. Now that's it. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to suck at Washington. I'm not saying that's.
But a lot
happen.
of what he has is portal dependent, right?
And this is why I bring it up. Is it that a lot of the talent on the team was Jimmy Lake talent. He obviously brought Penix in and had the relationship there, and that is massive. They don't win anything.
His
without
offense
Michael Penix.
is
so that is a huge part of it. But they're key edge rushers, they're
Well-
wide receivers. Like a lot of that talent was Jimmy Lake talent. And I just wonder, is there any fear in the back of people's minds of that goes? He's not recruiting at a high level. Maybe it's a transfer portal. You're paying him $10 million a year. The expectation, by the way, when you win, Lanning's doing this to himself too. Like they only go up.
Yeah, you can't be below.
Like Oregon
this.
State had a disappointing 8-4 season. Imagine saying that 3 years ago. You were pissed about being 8-4 this year because he won 10 games last year. Right. So if he comes out next year, you kind of transition the roster. They go 8-4 in the Big Ten. All of a sudden, you start grumbling because that's what fans do. This
How
is how
fast
they
does
work.
the revenue ramp up for Oregon and Washington? I know they're getting pennies on the dollar from a full share in the Big Ten, but I can't remember how
It's
fast
a 7-year
it
deal.
ramps up.
7 years until they get to until the next negotiated TV deal.
This has always been my one slight pushback to the Oregon part of the crowd that says, like, you left the conference. Well, of course. Why wouldn't you take the invite? And I don't fault Oregon.
There
for
wasn't
doing
anywhere
it.
else for him to go.
No, I get that. But, like, my only pushback on all of the Oregon narrative stuff is you're asking questions about something that's not important for them. Who cares if they make a little less in the Big Ten? They have a booster who funds all of this.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He spent $1 billion on
It doesn't
that
matter
university.
for Washington, though. That's the
But
question.
that's who it matters for is UW, because I've heard behind the scenes that their recruiting stuff is the way it is because their NIL collective isn't as organized. They don't quite have as much money to spend as some of these other institutions. And I'm not telling you what your endowment is and all that stuff, even though people cite that and it largely never gets used, by the way. I just think it's different. I think Oregon can be a couple mil behind every other Big Ten team, and they're not missing a step.
Yeah.
I think it's a little more vital for UW.
All right, there you go. That was a good mail sack today. Look at that, huh? We got passionate in the mail sack. Good sports questions today.
I think we only had one boob milk thing. That was it.
Only one boob. Somebody said, Sprague, you said recently you drank your mom's breast milk. Was that recently?
It was dust. She got it.
Hey, an
Snorted it up.
time legend getting turfed. Or is he? We'll get to that coming up next. First, your swag with Sports Center.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Big's Chicken. Try their smoked and fried wings tossed with a perfect dry rub served with a killer trio of sauces online at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan, a double dose of Monday night drama saw Tommy DeVito lead his hometown Giants to a game-winning field goal as time expired to beat the Packers 24-22, while at the same time, the Dolphins blew a 2-touchdown lead in the final 3 minutes at home, and the Titans escaped 28-27. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert meeting with hand specialists today for an assessment of the injured finger on his throwing hand. If surgery is necessary, he's done for the rest of the season. Blazers were without Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, and Malcolm Brogdon in L.A. They got a combined 84 points from Scoot, Simons, and Sharp, but still came up short of upsetting the Clippers in L.A. 132-127 back home Thursday to host the Jazz. College hoops tonight right here on The Fan. The Ducks host Cal Baptist, 7 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage at 6:30 following primetime. Oregon currently 11.5-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your home for bowl games and the college football playoff. The Odyssey app and Portland's
inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I jokingly said earlier in the show that I'm not going to watch Thursday Night Football. Hold me to it. Chargers and Raiders, Aiden O'Connell versus Easton Stick.
You're such a liar.
When the Chargers fire Brandon Staley, I'll watch a Charger game again. How does he still have it? Like, what are we still doing that for? Okay, it doesn't.
There's
make any
no
sense.
point.
I mean, there is. He's an idiot, and he should be fired.
Yeah,
and he sucks,
but that should have happened a month ago.
Should have happened 2 years ago, but you know.
There's a report that if Herbert has to get surgery, it may actually save his job.
Of course, because he's injured. I mean, the reason they struggled is because Herbert got an injured finger this year. Come on, you can't blame that on Staley. His defense has been lights out, right? Right? Oh, no. Well, one of the reasons I am a little out on Thursday Night Football is that one of my favorite all-time broadcasters, I think he's lost his fastball and he puts me asleep, and I think there's a lot of weeks that I tune in and I'm like, I don't know if he even wants to be there. I'm a big guy in be enthusiastic about the job that you're doing. You might disagree with takes that I have all the time. People call me idiot every day. That's fine. I'm enthusiastic to be here. I'm energetic and excited to be here. You know who's not? Al Michaels. And he is paying for it because I don't know how many people know this. He still had in his deal the opportunity to broadcast an NBC playoff game. He famously, with Tony Dungy, put the entire country to sleep last year, calling the Chargers blowing a 30-point lead to the Jags in the playoffs. One of the largest comebacks we've ever seen in the history of the NFL, especially in the postseason. Him and Tony Dungy slept through the entire thing and showed no enthusiasm. He's been turfed by NBC, and he didn't know about it. He is not going to call their playoff game this year, so they have 3 playoff games, one of which is going to be an exclusive Peacock game. Can't wait to debate that. Mike Tirico and Collinsworth get 2 of them.
The only way you could watch the game is with the Peacock Network.
They're going to have one playoff game that is exclusive to the Peacock.
You think Jack Collinsworth's getting that one?
That's going to
No,
be...
it's going to be Tirico and Collins.
Oh, okay.
And so they're doing 2 of the games.
That's the Tampa Bay game.
The third trade-off game, the third one that NBC will get, it was supposed to be Al Michaels. They called him for comment on this story, and he didn't know that he was not calling the game. He said, "Wait a minute, that's in my deal." And they said, "Oh, we heard from a source that you're not." He's not. They're having Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge call the game.
Todd Blackledge calling NFL.
Yeah. So Al Michaels, we're slowly putting him out to pasture.
Al Michaels is probably my GOAT. I love Al Michaels. Obviously, even before my time was calling historical sports moments. I don't understand, like, the massive pushback. He's 79. Yeah, dude, you don't sound like you're 42 anymore. It's okay to say that, but I kind of finally reached this point. It hit me a little last year. It's really hit me this year. There is just nothing there. There are big plays, and he's like, oh, and he, like, the Black Friday game comes to my mind. Did you hear him call the Javon Holland pick 6 to end the first half?
Yeah, I was down in Eugene, so I missed it.
Oh,
was he asleep during the call?
It was just like, oh, and Holland picks it off, and he's up the field. Touchdown, Dolphins. That kind of vibe. And I'm just like, that's massive. That was huge.
You see 100-yard pick sixes every week in the NFL. What are you talking about?
Exactly, especially on Hail Mary plays. Like, that's what it was. And he just doesn't have it. And also, 79. I would be wanting to be at the LA Country Club every day, having a beverage at 10 a.m., playing 18 holes, having a nice lunch, and then getting home and watching a great sunset with my wife every day of the rest of my life. And that dude is just like, no, I'll take the extra millions of dollars that I won't even be able to spend in my lifetime. Good for him. But
getting a paycheck.
A difference of personal philosophy at that point of life.
I don't blame NBC at all for this, man. I had honestly, until I read this article, I had forgotten about that playoff game, and then reading it reminded me of, like, could you find a more sleepy duo than Al Michaels and Tony Dungy? Is there anybody that can put you to sleep more than that?
Jason Garrett.
And
maybe Al Michaels, but I don't know. Maybe you're splitting hairs on Dungy and Michaels.
It's a great move. Noah Eagle's really good. He's young. I love Noah Eagle as a broadcaster. Todd Blackledge, to me, is one of the more underrated guys. You kind of forget about him because he's on NBC now, so you kind of forget because he used to be one of the prime guys on ESPN.
I met him at game day when they came to Corvallis. Massive mittens.
Big old mittens.
Oh, my God. He's a big dude.
He was their number 2 color guy. That was him and Brad Nessler was the number 2 crew back in the day on ESPN. Nessler's obviously with CBS now. But I can't blame NBC for making this move. And it's one, if you're Amazon, you look at Kirk Herbstreit's, he's grown on me as an NFL guy a little bit. I think he's having a pretty good year. It's just the fit hasn't made a lot of sense.
It seems like,
it's just
Kirk
weird.
needs somebody he can play off.
Yeah, somebody that's in his generation would help.
I think the other part, we see this in our industry in some ways. Like sometimes when you work with one person a long time, you work with another, it's not that it's bad, it's just not quite the same. Like Fowler and Herbstreit have been doing those games for
forever.
God, my whole life. So they're not gonna Herbstreit and anybody's probably not gonna have the same kind of chemistry. I'll give you a sneaky one that I actually love to see call more NFL games because I think he's really good on college. I'd like to see a little Benetti Herbstreit.
Yeah, I love Benetti.
I think
Big
Jason
Benetti guy.
Benetti is fantastic.
I think Fox's main crew is solid. You know what makes me chuckle is their little baby KK commercials. Those make me chuckle.
Little baby KK.
Have you seen those? It's like Greg Olson and Aaron Andrews and
They get
Kevin
the gang
Burkhardt.
jackets.
Everybody's got their jackets
Andrews,
with their
Olsen.
nicknames, and his is little baby KK.
Oh, no, I've only seen the one where they're trying to come up with catchphrases.
Yeah.
The macaroni and cheese lines or whatever. And Burkhardt's like, wow, this is a waste of time.
Those are pretty good. I like those. I like that Fox crew. So Al Michaels out of an NBC playoff game. And yes, I can't wait to debate the week that the wild card game or whatever round it is only a Peacock game, and we all get to yell about
It
that.
has to be the worst game, right?
I would hope
has
so.
to be.
But you don't want to do that if you're Peacock. You want to grab a good game to get people there, because if you have a below $500 team, who the hell's going on the Peacock?
Dirt. How many millions of people watched Titans-Dolphins
Touche.
last night?
Touche. Good point. I'll shut up.
Playoff game on the Cock Network. I'll subscribe. I'm in.
We got some poll questions to answer. We'll send you off, get you set for your day in sports next on The Fan.
The Fan is on in your
I got a condo in Manhattan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Oh, it turned into a busy show because the Dodgers are blatantly cheating. A lot of transfer portal news.
Did you see I was right yesterday, by the way?
What were you right about?
Really random, dumb thing that nobody would remember that I said.
No, I will not at all.
Including you?
No. I mean, I don't remember anything anyways.
What are the Lakers doing now? You not see this?
No.
Oh, they're doing what I said they should do. They're literally hanging a banner.
Yes.
And it's IST specific.
Yes.
It's a different color. And they're just going to fill in every year that they win it. They're not going to do multiple banners. They literally did the idea I said.
I was wondering if that was the case because I saw somebody retweeted a Kobe Bryant video
where he says we only hang
said
titles.
Conference finals, we don't hang it. Divisional titles, we don't hang it. He said the only banners we hang at the Staples Center are for NBA championships. And I thought, I wonder why. And now it makes sense. That's why they retweeted that.
Is Adam Silver making the Lakers do this? Absolutely. I would also argue if Kobe was doing what LeBron just did, he would be open-minded and change his position on that. That's just a hot take. I've seen this. I saw this tweet yesterday from Ethan. God, I'm blanking his name. He writes a Substack. He left ESPN, and now he's a truth teller of the media. And he wrote how the NBA media is lying about the TV ratings on this thing.
Oh.
How nobody watched. And
We're
like
cooking the books? Is that the...
Well, the problem with his argument and article is that he's comping these games to playoff games. It's literally called the in-season tournament.
Yeah, you got to compare it to regular season TNT and ABC games.
And there's not an argument. It blew out previous years' exact dates and games. It's the biggest thing they've seen on networks for in-season regular games since Christmas games.
Ooh.
So, like... just stop with the narratives. They're false narratives. You don't have to care.
Nope.
You don't have to watch.
Nope.
It was created to make some interest, and it did. And it delivered on what they wanted. Is it as big as they want it to be? Did they spend some money to make it happen? No and yes. But overall, it was an improvement on the regular season games. So it worked.
Did the players have to walk through a female genitalia hallway to get into the stadium? Maybe. But you know what? Lakers won it, so that's all that matters.
I mean, who wouldn't want to walk through one?
We all did at one point in life.
I just want to put me in a little ball and shove me up there. It's a Step Brothers reference. It's not. I'm not just some.
Don't be
pervert.
weird, Swag. If Michael Penix had an undefeated season in the SEC, would he have won the Heisman Trophy? 94% of you say yes.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Monday Night Doubleheader, what are you going to watch more of? 29.9% of you say Christmas movie, which was slightly edged by Titans and Dolphins at 30.9%.
Well, Titans-Dolphins probably beat the Christmas movie.
As the Dodgers deferring $680 million of Shohei's money feel like cheating, 78.4% of you answer correctly and said yes, it is cheating.
All wrong.
Bunch of cheaters.
You know you'd feel the same way.
You know it's cheating.
Yeah, you do.
It's all right. We all condone cheating when it's our team. Long term, is there an odd man out in Portland between Ant, Shaden, and Scoot? 44% of you early on say no, keep all three. Here we go again. 29.9% of you say Ant. 21.8% say Scoot. I want to know the 3.4 that voted Shaden. Who the hell is voting Shaden?
You leave baby Kobe out of this.
You got Connor Bedard versus Connor McDavid tonight.
Connor McNuts. I'm
Get
excited.
your puck on. 7 o'clock. ESPN, baby.
Who's better?
I mean, it's McJesus is better.
Yeah.
But
Is he?
the Bedard's on the rise. That will do it for us. Tom Habistrow tomorrow for the Daily Ticker. Good friend of the program.
Yeah.
The analytical guy on Blazer TV broadcast, Tom Habistrow. He will be on at 7:30. Thank you so much for being part of our Tuesday. If you missed any of the show, go check the Silvers Patriots podcast, 1080thefan.com. You can also check the show all day long at YouTube. And thanks to all y'all for watching. Go give the video a like and make sure to subscribe, youtube.com/1080thefan. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6. Colin is next. Listen to 1080 The Fan.
I'm PJ Glasser with BetQL. Carolina Panthers host the Atlanta Falcons this upcoming Sunday. The total is